The dollar was taped to the laundry key. Claire had used clear tape and pressed it flat, as if the bill might otherwise escape. She laid it on the dining room table between Dean's reading glasses and a stack of folders marked for donation. "There," she said. "That's Mercer Wash." June looked at the tarnished brass key, then at the single dollar folded around its head. Owen gave a small, unhappy laugh. "Claire." "What?" "That's how Dad transferred it. $1. It's right there in the papers." The house was quiet enough for June to hear the refrigerator stop running. 10 days earlier, people had filled these rooms with ham biscuits, flowers, and stories about Dean's courage. Now his daughter sat in his chair, explaining that the house belonged to her and Owen, while June had been left an exhausted coin laundry in the rooms above it. Claire pushed the key closer. "Dad's little joke, I guess. You, of all people, should know what to do with a room full of dirty laundry." June touched the dollar with one finger. The unanswered question was not whether Dean had meant to hurt her. It was why, after 6 more years of marriage and 11 years of being washed, fed, lifted, forgiven, and kept alive, he had never bothered to take the hurt back. "Did he sign this before or after we separated?" June asked. Owen looked down. Claire capped her pen. It was Dean's pen, black with a gold clip, one of the many objects that had begun migrating into her hands as though the house itself had chosen a new owner. During, according to the date. I can see the date. Then I don't understand the question. The question is whether he did it while he was angry or after he'd had time to make it mean. Claire leaned back. She was 44, but in certain moods her face became the face of the college student June had first met 20 years ago. Beautiful, guarded, and already prepared to dislike the woman beside her father. "I wasn't in the room when he signed it," she said. "No, you were only in the room when he left it that way." Owen rubbed his thumb along a scratch in the table. He had Dean's hands, wide through the palm, with blunt fingers that always seemed too large for whatever they were holding. At 40, he still wore the apologetic half-smile that had got him through late arrivals, unpaid loans, and family dinners where he brought beer instead of the dish he had promised. "June, maybe we should slow down." Claire turned to him. "We have slowed down. We waited until after the funeral." "That is not the same thing," June said. No one answered. The dining room still looked ready for Dean to come in, complaining that the thermostat had been touched. His placemat remained on the table because June had not found the courage to lift it. A faint white ring marked the wood where she used to set his evening glass of water. For the last 4 months he had refused the plastic cup the therapist recommended, calling it a toddler cup, so June had stood beside him while he drank from real glass. Some nights, it took 15 minutes. Claire opened another folder. "The house passes directly to Owen and me. We've agreed to list it." "We've discussed listing it," Owen corrected. "We agreed. You said it. I didn't fight you. Those are technically different things." Under other circumstances, June might have smiled. Claire did not. "The photographer can come on the 23rd, Claire continued. "That gives us 12 days to clear personal items and get everything presentable." June looked toward the hallway. "Everything has been presentable for 32 years. That's not what I meant." "I know what you meant." Claire's mouth tightened. "You'll take whatever is yours, obviously." "Obviously. And anything that belonged to Dad's mother stays with the family." June glanced at the glass front cabinet. Inside were the rose-patterned dishes Dean's mother, Ruth, had given her after a Christmas dinner when Claire left early and Owen fell asleep on the sofa with his shoes on. Ruth had said, "You're the only one who'll use them instead of arguing over them." June had used them every Thanksgiving since. "Which family?" she asked. Owen made a sound that could have been a cough. Claire stacked the folders with sharp, even taps. "I am trying to do this respectfully. You taped a dollar to a key, so it wouldn't get lost. That was thoughtful." Claire stood. For a second, anger warmed her face and made her look almost relieved. Anger was easier for all 3 of them. It had furniture. You knew where to sit. "You think I don't know what you did for him," she said. "I know, we all know. But that doesn't make everything yours. I didn't say everything was mine. You don't have to." Owen stood too, though he had nowhere to go. "Can we not turn Dad's dining room into a boxing ring?" "Your father hated boxing," June said. "He hated anything where both sides knew they were in a fight." The words came out before she could decide whether they were cruel. Owen's expression changed. Claire's did not. On the final morning of Dean's life, June had shaved the left side of his face twice because he insisted she had missed a strip. There had been no strip. She had warmed the shaving cream between her palms, drawn the razor carefully along the slack skin below his ear, and turned his chin toward the window. "You're rushing me," he had said. "I've been doing this for 11 years, then you ought to be better at it." An hour later, he had apologized by asking if she wanted him to order Chinese for dinner. Dean rarely said sorry when he could offer food instead. He died before lunch in the blue armchair, his fingers caught in the knitted blanket June had made during the first winter after his stroke. Claire picked up her handbag. "I'll come back tomorrow with labels." Labels for the furniture. So the movers know what's going where. I'm still living here for 12 more days. Owen winced. Claire noticed and looked irritated with him for making her sound harsh. "We can be flexible by a day or two," she said. June peeled the dollar and key from the table. The tape made a dry ripping sound. "Don't strain yourself," Claire added. "Owen can move the heavier things." Owen nodded too quickly. "Absolutely. Anything you need?" June put the key in her cardigan pocket. "Anything?" she asked. His eyes moved toward Claire, then back. "Anything I can do." That was Owen's favorite promise. It sounded generous and expired on contact with difficulty. After they left, June stayed at the dining room table until the light shifted from the windows to the wall. She did not cry. She wished she could. Crying had been simple when Dean was alive. She could lock herself in the downstairs bathroom, run the faucet, and be finished before he needed something. Grief without a schedule was another creature entirely. At 4, she made tea and forgot to drink it. At 5, she opened the refrigerator and found 3 covered dishes from the funeral, a bowl of peeled grapes Dean no longer needed, and 6 little vanilla yogurts he had eaten only if she stirred them first. She threw away the grapes. The yogurts stayed. Just before 6, June drove to Mercer Wash. The building stood at the corner of Mercer and Bell, squeezed between a takeout restaurant and a shop that repaired phones and sold lottery tickets. The sign had lost the first R years ago, so it now read, "Me, Sear, Wash," in faded blue letters. Dean had promised to replace it every spring. There were no customers inside. A handwritten notice on the glass said, "Closed until further notice," though no one had signed it. June unlocked the door and had to put her shoulder against it because the swollen wood dragged on the floor. The smell reached her first. Detergent, old water, hot dust, and something faintly sour from the drains. 12 top-loading washers stood in 2 rows. 5 wore strips of yellow tape. 1 had no lid. The plastic chairs along the front window were molded in orange and brown, colors chosen by people who believed the dirt should be camouflaged instead of removed. A woman in navy scrubs appeared at the glass while June was still finding the light switches. She was carrying a white laundry bag against one hip. June opened the door a few inches. "I'm sorry. We're closed." The woman peered past her at the dark machines. "I gathered that from all the darkness." Despite herself, June smiled. "You know when you're reopening?" the woman asked. "No, that usually means never." "I didn't say never. No, ma'am." "You said it like somebody who hasn't decided whether to burn the place down." June looked back at the machines. Would they burn? Those dryers? Absolutely. The woman shifted the bag. She had silver threaded through her close-cut hair and the exhausted steadiness of someone accustomed to being awake while the rest of the world slept. "I'm Inez," she said. "I used to come in Tuesdays after my shift. Your husband would turn on number 6 even when it ate my quarters. Dean did that, complained the whole time, made it sound like I was robbing him. That sounds like Dean." Inez studied her face, and June watched recognition arrive without ceremony. "You're his wife. Widow. I heard. I'm sorry." June had heard those words more than 100 times, but Inez did not tilt her head or soften her voice. She simply stood there with dirty uniforms and let the fact be ugly. "Thank you," June said. Inez nodded toward the ceiling. "Flat still up there?" "Apparently. Ruth used to live up there. Mean little woman. She was 5 feet tall. Mean doesn't require height." June almost laughed again. "No, it does not." Inez adjusted the bag. "Well, if you open, put a sign up. If you don't open, put a better sign up. Further notice is a rude thing to make people wait for." After she left, June locked the door and walked through the laundry. The change machine had been pried open and repaired with 2 different kinds of screws. Owen's boxes filled most of the rear storage room, each marked with black marker: kitchen, camping, old office, Miski. There were 23 boxes labeled MISC. At the back, a narrow staircase rose behind a fire door. June tried the brass key. It stuck halfway. "Of course," she said. She pulled it out, wiped it on her cardigan, and tried again. This time, the lock turned. The stairs groaned under her. At the top was a small landing and another door, unlocked. June pushed it open with the flat of her hand. The apartment was worse than she had imagined, and smaller than she remembered. The last time she had been there, Ruth was alive and frying onions with all the windows shut. Now a brown stain spread across the living room ceiling. The kitchen floor curled at the edges. A dead houseplant sat in the sink, reduced to gray sticks in a coffee can. Through the bedroom doorway, she saw an iron bed frame with no mattress. June tested the nearest light switch. Nothing happened. Outside, a bus sighed at the curb. The takeout restaurant's exhaust fan rattled below the kitchen window. Somewhere in the walls, water knocked twice and went still. June stood in the dim room, with her hand in her pocket around the folded dollar. Her phone rang. Tessa's name lit the screen. June answered. "I just talked to Owen," her daughter said. "I'm coming tomorrow. You don't have to. That sentence has never stopped me before." "Tessa, did they really tell you to leave?" June looked at the cracked plaster, the dead plant, the bare bed frame. "Yes." "Then pack a bag." "You're coming to Pittsburgh with me." For 1 weak, dangerous second, June imagined saying yes. Then she looked through the doorway at the rooms no one else wanted. "No," she said. "I think I'm moving upstairs." "Upstairs where?" Tessa asked. "Above the laundry." There was a silence in which June could hear her daughter making several decisions she would later deny making. The abandoned laundry? It isn't abandoned. I'm standing in it. That is not the defense you think it is. June walked to the kitchen window and looked down at the alley. 2 metal trash cans leaned against each other like drunks. "There's an apartment. Does the apartment have heat?" "I haven't checked. Water? I just got here. A ceiling? Most of one." "Mom?" June closed her eyes. Tessa's anger had always been efficient. It arrived dressed for work. Even as a teenager, she had never slammed doors without first making sure nothing breakable hung on the adjoining wall. At 41, she managed medical supply contracts for a hospital network and could make the word unacceptable sound like a diagnosis. "I'm not asking permission," June said. "Good, because you don't have it. That's not how adulthood works. Then why are Claire and Owen giving you 12 days like you're a tenant who stopped paying rent?" "I'll see you tomorrow. I'm leaving at 6. "You don't need to, I know. You've built an entire life around what people need. Let me do something because I want to." The line went quiet before June could answer. Tessa had hung up. June remained in the flat until the room became too dark to distinguish stains from shadows. On the way downstairs, she tried 3 switches. The stairwell light worked if she held the switch halfway down with one finger. That felt less like electricity than negotiation. Back at the house, Dean's absence seemed to have grown while she was gone. The hallway clock ticked too loudly. His walker waited beside the blue armchair, tennis balls gray at the edges. June reached for it automatically when she passed, meaning to move it out of his way. Her hand closed around the cold metal grip. She stood there until the telephone rang and made her jump. It was Claire asking whether 9 was too early for the labels. "Yes," June said. 10? "Also too early. What time works?" "Never would be pleasant." Claire sighed. "I'll come at 11. June slept badly and woke at 5:30 because Dean had taken his medication at 6. She lay still, listening for the little brass bell he kept on the table beside his chair. He had begun using it after his voice weakened, though he had often rung it while June was in the same room. At 6:15, she got up and put the bell in a drawer. Tessa arrived shortly after 9 in a gray hatchback loaded with cleaning supplies, an air mattress, 2 toolboxes, and enough bottled water to survive a minor siege. She came through the front door without knocking and found June spreading cream cheese on toast. "You're eating," Tessa said. "I do it most days." Tessa set down her purse and hugged her. The hug began hard, softened, then ended too quickly. She smelled like highway coffee and the lavender hand cream she had used since college. "You look tired," Tessa said. "I've been entertaining. Is that what we're calling it?" June handed her half the toast. Tessa ate it standing up, her eyes moving over the kitchen. Funeral cards lined the windowsill. The covered dishes had dwindled, but 2 casseroles remained on the bottom shelf of the refrigerator because neither woman could identify them. "Show me," Tessa said. They drove separately because June refused to be stranded at the laundry if Tessa decided to kidnap her to Pittsburgh. Tessa followed close enough that June could see her disapproval in the rearview mirror. At Mercer Wash, the front door fought them both. "That has to be planned," Tessa said. "Good morning to you too. I'm making a list." "You've been here 9 seconds. I started the list in Pennsylvania." The lights inside looked worse in daylight. Dust softened the machines. A brown tide mark ran along the baseboard near the rear wall. Tessa walked through slowly, photographing everything with her phone. "You're not posting those somewhere, are you?" "Yes, I thought I'd advertise it as a luxury wellness retreat. Make sure you mention the dead plant." Upstairs, Tessa stopped beneath the ceiling stain and looked at June. "It's dry," June said. "You touched it?" I looked at it. "That is not how wet works." Tessa dragged a chair under the stain before June could stop her. She pressed the plaster with 2 fingers, then climbed down. "Dry for now. There's probably a leak above it. There is no above it. That's the roof." "Exactly." They tested the taps. The kitchen faucet coughed brown water, then ran clear. The toilet worked if its handle was held down. The stove clicked but did not light. One bedroom outlet powered Tessa's phone charger. Another produced a tiny blue flash that ended further experimentation. Tessa stood in the middle of the living room, hands on her hips. "You can't stay here. I'm not staying here tonight. You can't stay here any night." Ruth lived here until she was 81. Ruth believed margarine was a vegetable. She also survived 2 husbands. "I am trying to keep you from joining them." June went to the window. Across the street, a man in a green apron was hosing down the sidewalk in front of a produce market. A bus stopped, sighed, and moved on. The block did not look promising exactly. It looked busy. There was a difference. "I have $16,240 in savings," June said. "Another $3,800 in checking. My monthly benefit will cover food, medicine, and most of the utilities if I'm careful." Tessa's face changed at the exactness of the number. "How much does this place owe?" "I don't know yet." "So your plan is to pour everything you have into a building Dad used to punish you. My plan is to find out what it needs. And if it needs more than you have, then I'll know." Tessa stared at her. "You could live with me, in your spare room. It's a good room. It has a treadmill and 6 boxes of Christmas decorations. I'll move them." "Where?" Tessa opened her mouth, then closed it. June sat on the sill. "You have a life. I'm aware. I don't want to become a problem you solve between conference calls. You think that's what you are to me? I think that's what I would become to both of us." Tessa picked up the dead plant from the sink. Its coffee can container left a ring of dirt behind. "Maybe I'd like the chance to be inconvenienced," she said. She carried the plant downstairs before June could answer. At 11:15, they returned to the house and found Claire in the dining room with 3 rolls of colored stickers. Owen stood beside her, holding a pad of paper, and looking as though he had been assigned to assist in a robbery he did not fully support. Tessa stopped in the doorway. "What are those?" Claire did not look up. "Blue is for Owen, green is for me, and white is for June." "You color-coded my mother out of her own house? It makes the move easier." "For whom?" "Tessa," June said. "No, I'd honestly like to know." Claire pressed a green sticker onto the bottom of a silver serving tray. "This belonged to my grandmother. She gave it to Mom. She lent it. She's been dead for 14 years. That is a relaxed lending policy." Owen covered his mouth, disguising another laugh as a cough. Claire turned on him. "Would you like to do this?" "No." "Then stop enjoying it." June took the roll of white stickers from the table. "I can label my own things." Claire released it after the slightest hesitation. "Fine." The first white sticker went on June's sewing basket. The second went on the kettle she had bought, after Dean declared the whistle on the old one unbearable. She labeled 2 lamps, the bedroom dresser, her mother's cedar chest, and the set of plain everyday dishes she had purchased at a discount store before she married Dean. When she opened the glass cabinet, Claire came over. "The rose dishes are green," she said. "Ruth gave them to me. She wanted them kept in the Mercer family. I was under the impression that marrying Dean had done that." "You know what I mean?" June did. That was what hurt. Tessa stepped forward, but June touched her arm. She did not want her daughter fighting for a place June had spent years pretending was secure. "Mark them green," June said. "Mom, they chip in the dishwasher." Claire's eyes narrowed, searching for mockery. June handed her the green stickers. They moved into the living room. Claire labeled a narrow bookcase and 2 framed landscapes. Owen claimed the television, then looked embarrassed and offered to leave it. "Take it," June said. "The picture turns purple whenever anyone wears red. It'll be good for football." The blue armchair waited by the window. Claire approached it with a green sticker. June felt Tessa stiffen beside her. "That one is mine," June said. "It was Dad's chair. I bought it. He died in it." "Yes." Claire's hand lowered. For a moment, none of them looked at the chair. The knitted blanket was still folded over one arm. Beneath the footrest sat one of Dean's slippers, pushed so far back June had not noticed it. Claire crouched and pulled it out. The sight of her holding that worn brown slipper broke something open in her face. Not much. A tremor at the mouth, a quick pinch between the eyes. Then she placed the slipper on the seat with an almost ceremonial care. "White sticker," she said. She walked into the hallway before anyone could thank her. Owen began measuring the chair. "It'll fit through the laundry door if we take the feet off." "Can you move it Saturday?" June asked. "Sure. You have my father's truck," Tessa said. "It's Dad's truck. You took it." Claire said I could. Claire called from the hall. It was assigned to him. "Of course it was," Tessa said. "Was the good silver assigned too? Or did it win a scholarship?" June put a hand over her eyes. "Tess." "What?" "I drove 4 hours into a yard sale with grief." Owen sat on the arm of the sofa. "For what it's worth, I think this is awful." Claire returned, then stopped participating. "I'm trying to help. You always try in ways that leave someone else finishing." That landed harder than Claire seemed to expect. Owen rose without looking at any of them. "I'll get boxes from the truck." He was halfway to the door when June remembered the back room of Mercer Wash. "Owen," he turned. "You have 23 boxes marked miscellaneous in my laundry. Do I? You know you do. I forgot Dad let me store those there. Well, he's no longer letting you." Owen glanced toward Claire, but this time she offered no rescue. "I'll move them," he said. "When?" "Soon. Give me a day." "June, I'm working all week. So am I." He seemed about to ask what she was working at. Something in her face persuaded him not to. "Next Tuesday," he said. "Saturday. When you bring the chair." Owen nodded once. "Saturday." After he went outside, Claire returned to the dining room and resumed labeling. Tessa followed June upstairs, where 2 open suitcases lay on the bed. "You're letting them strip the place," Tessa said. "It's theirs to strip." "No, that's what they keep saying until you're too tired to argue." June folded a blouse and placed it in the suitcase. "I don't want the silver tray." "It isn't about the tray. It is a little bit about the tray. It's ugly." Tessa pushed the suitcase lid aside. "Come to Pittsburgh for 6 months. Sell the laundry if you can. Let someone else worry about the roof." "I don't want to sell it. You don't even know if you want to live there. That's why I have to try." "Why? To prove Dad wrong?" June picked up another blouse, but her hands had begun to shake. "To prove I'm not afraid of an empty room." Tessa's expression softened, which somehow made June angrier. "Don't look at me like that." "Like what?" "Like I'm brave because everyone else has been cruel. I don't. You came with an air mattress and a rescue plan. I came because you're my mother. I was your mother last month." "Yes, and every time I called, you told me about Dean's pills, Dean's appetite, Dean's blood pressure. I haven't had a conversation with you in 10 years that he didn't enter. He needed me. That's what I mean. You made yourself disappear and expected me to call it love." June set the blouse down. From the driveway came the thump of Owen dropping a bundle of flattened boxes. Downstairs, Claire pulled tape from its dispenser in short, tearing bursts. Tessa's eyes filled, but she did not look away. June wanted to tell her about the nights Dean had been afraid to sleep, the mornings his body had refused to cooperate, the tenderness that sometimes appeared when neither of them had strength left for pride. She wanted to explain that disappearing had happened an inch at a time. Instead, she said, "We need paint." Tessa blinked. "What? For the flat? What color?" June pictured Dean looking up from his newspaper whenever she brought home a yellow towel or yellow flowers, asking why everything had to be so loud. "Yellow," she said, "a deep one." Tessa wiped beneath one eye with the heel of her hand. "That'll take 2 coats. Then we'd better buy enough." The paint was called Golden Promise, which Tessa said sounded less like a color than something sold on television at 2 in the morning. "It's mustard," she said, holding the sample beneath the hardware store lights. "It is not mustard. It's mustard after a good performance review." June took the card from her. Dean hated yellow. Tessa put 2 gallons in the cart. They bought rollers, drop cloths, rubber gloves, joint compound, a pry bar Tessa claimed was essential, and one inexpensive shower curtain printed with blue fish. June objected to the fish. Tessa reminded her that the current alternative was bathing in front of an uncovered window. At the register, the total came to $286.19. June's hand paused over her wallet. "I'll get it," Tessa said. "No. Let me buy the paint. I can afford paint. You just told me exactly how much money you have." That was information, not an invitation. The cashier, a woman near June's age, stared down at the register with the fixed serenity of someone who had watched families fight over paint before. Tessa removed the shower curtain from the cart. "Then I'm buying the fish. You can buy the fish. And the rollers. 1 roller. There are 2 of us. There will be 2 of us for 3 days. There will be 1 of me after that." The cashier cleared her throat. "Second roller's half off." Tessa looked at June. "Fine," June said. "You can buy the half that's off." They spent the afternoon opening windows and carrying out what Ruth had left behind. The coffee can with the dead plant went first. Then came a stack of yellowed newspapers, 3 empty pickle jars, a broken ironing board, and a kitchen chair with 1 short leg. Beneath the sink, Tessa found 9 bars of hotel soap wrapped in paper. Ruth never stayed in hotels, June said. Maybe she stole them from people who did. That sounds possible. They worked carefully in the living room, scraping loose paint and patching cracks. June lasted an hour on the stepladder before her left knee began to pulse. She climbed down without mentioning it and moved to the baseboards. Tessa noticed anyway. "You're limping. I'm bending." "You bend with both legs. I have a favorite." Tessa placed the roller tray on the floor. "Sit down for 10 minutes. I've been sitting down for 11 years. That isn't medically relevant." June kept wiping the baseboard. Tessa let out a breath through her nose, picked up the other rag, and lowered herself beside June. They worked in silence, shoulder to shoulder, until June's knee stopped throbbing. The first stripe of yellow looked alarming against the old beige wall. Tessa stood back with the roller held upright. "There's still time to pretend we bought the wrong color. Keep going." Half a wall later, the room changed. It did not become beautiful. The ceiling stain remained, and the floor still sloped toward the windows. But the yellow gave the late light somewhere to stay. June was cleaning brushes in the kitchen when someone knocked downstairs. A man stood outside the laundry with a black service case and a phone in his hand. He was lean, dark-haired, and younger than the voice on the message June had left that morning. His work shirt bore a stitched patch that said, "Mateo," though the patch had begun to detach at one corner. "Mrs. Mercer." "June. I'm Mateo Ruiz. You called about the washers." Tessa appeared behind her, paint on one cheek. "Did you know Dean?" Mateo glanced from her to June. "I knew his machines. That wasn't the question." "Tessa," June said. "This is my daughter. She's been on the highway too long. I've been off the highway for 6 hours. Apparently it lasts." Mateo set down his case. Mr. Mercer called when something stopped taking money. If it still took money while flooding the floor or smoking, he usually waited. June looked at the rows of machines. That sounds like him, too. Mateo walked the laundry with a flashlight, removing panels and writing numbers on a pad. He did not perform optimism for them. Washer 3 had a cracked tub. 5 had been repaired with a part meant for a different model. 9 was older than Mateo and, he said, had earned the right to die. "What about 6? June asked. He looked up. "Why 6? A customer said it ate her quarters. They all eat quarters. 6 lies about it." He opened the coin housing and showed June where a bent metal tongue failed to register payment. The mechanism was greasy and simpler than she expected. "Can it be fixed?" "Yes." "Cheaply?" "No." Tessa crossed her arms. "How much to make this place safe enough to open?" Mateo did not answer immediately. He checked the dryers, then the water lines along the rear wall. One connection was green with corrosion. Another had been wrapped in silver tape. "Who did that?" Tessa asked. "Somebody who owns silver tape," Mateo said. He finished his inspection at the utility sink. 4 washers are worth repairing now. Maybe 6 eventually. 3 dryers can run after cleaning and new belts. 1 needs a motor. The others are storage with doors. June looked down the 2 rows. 4 washers isn't much of a laundry. It's more than 0. "What will it cost?" "For the parts I know about, $2,900. Labor around 1800. More if the water lines break when I touch them, which they may do out of spite. June felt the number settle behind her ribs. How much up front? Parts. And labor? When the work is done. I may not have customers when the work is done. Then we can split it over 3 months. But if you want me to tell you this is a good investment, I don't do that. What do? I make machines turn on when they're supposed to turn on and stop when they're supposed to stop. Tessa nodded. I like him. I haven't given you a price for the ceiling, Matteo said. I like him less. He pointed upstairs. That stain is under the roof drain. It overflowed last fall. Dean had someone clear it, but the plaster needs to come down where it's soft. Don't sleep under it. The bed is in the other room, June said. Matteo's eyes flicked toward her, then to Tessa. You're moving in? Yes. People live in worse. Thank you, June said. That wasn't encouragement. It was geography. After he left, Tessa followed June upstairs with the estimate. You cannot spend almost $5,000 before you know whether anyone will come. Inez will come. One woman with a bag of uniforms is not a business model. She knew which machine she liked. She liked the machine that stole from her. She understood Dean. Tessa laid the estimate on the kitchen counter. At least wait until we know what the roof needs. June looked at the rows of figures. Materials, labor, belts, hoses, coin mechanisms. Each number was small enough to seem reasonable until it joined the others. I'll ask him to repair 2 washers and 2 dryers first. That's still money. Everything after 65 is money. Stairs are money, teeth are money. A place without stairs is even more money. This isn't about your age, no. It's about whether I'm allowed to use what I have before someone else decides how I should save it. Tessa's mouth tightened. You think I'm Claire? I think you're scared. I am scared. So am I. That ended the argument, though it did not settle it. Tessa stayed 2 nights at the house and refused to sleep in Dean's room. On the 3rd morning, they carried the first finished boxes to the flat. Clothes went into the bedroom. June's everyday dishes filled one kitchen cabinet. Her mother's cedar chest fit beneath the front windows after they removed the short legs. The yellow walls dried unevenly, glowing around every patched crack. It needs another coat, Tessa said. It has character. It has streaks. So did Dean, and everyone called him complicated. Tessa laughed before she could stop herself. The sound surprised them both. Saturday arrived with cold rain, and Owen 40 minutes late in Dean's truck. The blue armchair was tied in the bed beneath a plastic tarp. 6 of Owen's miscellaneous boxes had been wedged around it. You have 17 more, June said, after he backed to the laundry door. I'm making progress. You moved 6 boxes from my building into a truck that brought them back to my building. They were stabilizing the chair. Tessa climbed into the truck bed and inspected the rope. This knot is decorative. It held all the way here. So does denial. Owen looked at June. Is she always like this now? She used to be worse. Her knees healed. Together they maneuvered the chair through the swollen front door. Owen removed its wooden feet. Matteo held the door after arriving to begin work, and Tessa guided from the stairs while June stood at the landing, resisting everyone's instructions to stay out of the way. The chair scraped one wall before settling in the yellow living room. Dean's chair looked smaller there. Without the walker, the medicine table, the bell, and June waiting within earshot, it became an ordinary piece of furniture with worn arms and a cushion shaped by one man's weight. Owen stood with his hands in his pockets. I'm glad you kept it, he said. June smoothed the blanket over the back. Claire let me. She doesn't own every memory. She has stickers that disagree. Owen gave a weak smile. Rain darkened the shoulders of his jacket. Did you know? June asked. He did not pretend to misunderstand. I knew Dad had done something when you left, he said. Claire said it had all been worked out. Did you ask how? No. Why not? He looked toward the stairwell, where Tessa and Matteo were arguing about whether the old sofa could be lifted safely. I was relieved you came back, he said. He was impossible without you. There it was, not an apology, but the truth beneath one. June folded the blanket once more, though it was already straight. You have 11 boxes left in the back room, she said. 17. You brought 6 back, right. He rubbed his face. I'll rent a storage unit Monday. Good. You could say thank you. So could you. He looked at her then, properly, and whatever joke he had prepared did not arrive. I'll come Tuesday, he said, for all of them. When the truck left, Tessa stood at the window watching it disappear through the rain. He knew, she said. Part of it. That's enough. June sat in the blue chair. The cushion received her differently than it had received Dean. Tessa's hatchback was packed for Pittsburgh. Her toolboxes were gone from the kitchen, and the air mattress had been rolled tight behind the driver's seat. Neither of them mentioned her departure until they were downstairs. I can come back next weekend, Tessa said. You have work. I also have a car. June hugged her first this time. Tessa held on longer. Call me if the ceiling changes shape. What shape should worry me? Any new one. After Tessa drove away, the laundry felt larger and the flat smaller. Mateo worked with the rear panels open, metal parts arranged on a towel. June turned the sign in the front window around, read, "Closed until further notice," and found a marker beneath the counter. Below the printed words, she added two of her own, "Not forever." Mateo came out from behind washer 6 and read the addition to the sign. "Not forever is a promise," he said. "It's 2 words. Promises are usually short. That's how people get them out before they think." June capped the marker. "Can you repair 2 washers and 2 dryers?" "I can." 6 and whichever other one is least likely to attack a customer. 6 is sentimental now. 6 has a history. They all have histories, mostly of neglect. He selected washer 11 and dryers 2 and 4. June wrote a check for the parts deposit at the folding counter, pressing hard because the pen skipped. The amount was $1,462. She wrote it twice in her new ledger, once under repairs and once on the first page, where she had listed every dollar in her accounts. "What's the second entry?" Mateo asked. "Fear. That column gets crowded." He taught her how to remove the coin tray from washer 6. The first time she tried, the key caught and she pulled too hard, spilling quarters across the tile. "You said turn, then pull," she told him. "I did. You turned while you said it. I was demonstrating. You were showing off." Mateo crouched to gather quarters. "If this is showing off, my life has gone badly." The rain continued against the front windows while he worked, and June carried more boxes upstairs. Her books filled one shelf of the narrow bookcase Claire had marked white after learning none of them had belonged to Ruth. June unpacked sheets, bath towels, 3 framed photographs, and the wooden recipe box her mother had given her. She placed no photograph of Dean in the living room. His picture went on the bedroom dresser, face down, until she decided whether she wanted to look at it before sleeping. Near dusk, Inez appeared at the window, carrying the same white laundry bag. She pointed to June's handwritten words. June unlocked the door. "I saw the update," Inez said. "Further notice has improved. We may have 2 washers by the end of the week." "Which 2?" 6 and 11. Inez considered that. 11 shakes. Mateo says he can fix it. Men say a lot when they're holding tools. From behind the open dryer, Mateo said, "I can hear you. Then fix 11 quietly." Inez stepped inside, bringing the smell of cold rain and hospital soap. She looked around at the open machines, the tools, and the row of quarters drying on a towel. "You really opening? I'm trying." Dean was always trying to close. June looked at her. "Why?" Said the place cost more than it earned. Said people broke things and complained. But every time I suggested another laundry, he'd act insulted. That sounds exhausting. He had range. Mateo laughed once from inside the dryer. Inez reached into her coat pocket and set 4 quarters on the counter. "For number 6. It isn't working yet. Then consider it a deposit." "You don't have to do that. I know." "That's why I did." June had heard nearly the same words from Tessa. She looked at the 4 quarters, then swept them into the coin tray. "I'll put your name on them." "Don't." "I like imagining you'll forget and become a criminal." After Inez left, June wrote "first customer" in the ledger beside $1. Mateo saw it and did not correct her. The last nights in the house became a series of unfinished motions. June packed until her back hurt, then wandered from room to room, touching things she did not want. Claire's colored stickers appeared everywhere. Green under the hall table, blue behind the television, white on June's sewing basket. The little squares made the house look infected with an orderly disease. Claire arrived each evening with questions. Did June know where Dean kept the receipt for the roof repair? Which cousin had brought the crystal bowl? Would she wash the dining room curtains before the photographer came? Had the silver always had those dark marks? June answered, because answering was quicker than refusing. She found the roof receipt in a file marked CAR. She identified the crystal bowl as belonging to the neighbor across the street. She took down the curtains, washed them, and hung them while Claire measured the upstairs rooms. "Those look better," Claire said. June stood on the bottom step of the ladder, both shoulders aching. "They look the same. They don't smell dusty. Neither did they before." Claire had already moved on. Owen arrived at Mercer Wash on Tuesday morning with a rented storage van and coffee for 3. He had brought no one to help. "You said you were clearing the back room," June told him. "I am." "By yourself?" "I thought criticism was included in the storage arrangement. The storage arrangement was free. Then I'm behind on my criticism payments." He worked for nearly 4 hours, carrying boxes from the back room, while Mateo installed belts and dryer 4. Some were heavier than their labels suggested. A carton marked Old Office contained cast iron cookware. One marked Pillows clinked when Owen lifted it. "What is in there?" June asked. "Miscellaneous. It says pillows." "I was moving quickly." "You stored these here for 3 years." "I was moving very slowly." By noon, sweat darkened his shirt despite the cold. June brought sandwiches downstairs. The 3 of them ate at the folding counter while the empty back room aired behind them. Owen glanced around. "I forgot how big this place was." "You forgot you had 17 boxes in it." "I remembered 11, after bringing 6 back." Mateo looked between them. "Are all Mercer conversations accounting problems?" "Only the emotional ones," Owen said. He finished moving the boxes without being reminded. Before leaving, he swept the back room with a push broom and stacked the loose wooden shelves against the wall. "What are you going to do with the space?" he asked. "I don't know. You could put vending machines back there. I have enough machines taking my money." He smiled, then rested one hand on the doorframe. "Claire says you're not helping with the house. I washed her curtains yesterday. She says you're being distant. Claire has asked me 27 questions since Sunday." "You counted?" "I should have charged." Owen shifted his weight. "She gets this way when she's overwhelmed." "Do I get away?" "Yes." "What way?" He seemed to realize too late that honesty had been requested. "You get useful," he said. June waited. "And quiet," he added. "Does that make me easier? For everyone but you, probably." She looked at him with the broom still in her hand. Owen rubbed the back of his neck. "I'm trying not to lie just because the truth makes me look bad." "That's new." "I know." He left before she could soften it for him. June moved into the flat 2 nights ahead of Claire's deadline. She carried the last suitcase upstairs herself and placed the house key on the kitchen counter, separate from the laundry keys. The air mattress Tessa had brought filled most of the bedroom floor. The blue chair stood against the yellow wall. The kettle occupied the only reliable kitchen outlet, and an extension cord ran into the bedroom for a lamp and phone charger. Dinner was tomato soup warmed in an electric saucepan, eaten from a mug because the kitchen table had not arrived. June sat in the blue chair with her feet on a cardboard box labeled bathroom. At 9, she called Tessa. "Are you in the flat?" Tessa asked. "I am, alone, unless Ruth is still here." "Do not say things like that on your first night. You said she was mean, not restless." "Did you check the ceiling? It remains shaped like a ceiling. The windows locked. Most of them. Mom, I have a piece of wood in the one that doesn't." Tessa exhaled. "How's the yellow?" "Loud. Good." June told her about the machines, leaving out the exact amount of the check. Tessa asked anyway. $1,462, June admitted. "And the rest, later, define later." "You sound like a lender." "I sound like someone who knows you'll eat soup for 6 months to avoid admitting you need help. It has vegetables. Tomato soup is not a salad." They talked until the room grew cold. After they hung up, June locked the door, changed into her nightgown, and went into the bathroom. The shower water began hot. For 30 seconds it was almost luxurious. Then it turned lukewarm, coughed air, and became so cold, June gasped aloud. She shut it off with shampoo still in her hair. Downstairs, something struck metal with a hollow bang. June wrapped herself in a towel and followed the sound to the utility closet beside the stairs. Water crept from beneath the old heater, shining across the floor. "Of course," she whispered. She found the shut-off valve after 2 attempts. It resisted, then turned with a squeal. By the time the flow stopped, her hair had dripped a dark circle onto the towel around her shoulders. Mateo came early the next morning. He inspected the heater, touched the rusted bottom seam, and stood. "It's done." "Can you fix it?" "No." "You fix machines. I fix laundry machines. This is a tank full of hot water trying to become a fountain. How much? He called a plumber he trusted and put the call on speaker. The estimate, including removal, was $1,900 for the least expensive replacement that would serve both the flat and the utility sink. June sat at the folding counter after Mateo returned to washer 6. In front of her were the repair ledger, her checkbook, and Dean's watch. She had found it the previous evening in the bedroom dresser at the house, inside the wooden box where he kept cufflinks he had not worn in 15 years. The watch was heavy, gold, and absurdly elegant. June had given it to him for their 10th anniversary, back when both of them believed expensive gifts could prove the future had agreed to cooperate. Claire had seen June put it in her handbag. "That was Dad's," she had said. "Yes." "Are you taking it? I gave it to him. That isn't the same as it being yours." June had closed the bag. "Neither was my time. He took that." Claire had gone very still. June had regretted the sentence before leaving the room, but she had not taken it back. A jeweler 6 blocks away offered $1,200 for the watch. June knew it had cost more than twice that, but she also knew what it was worth sitting in a box. She accepted the money. The replacement heater arrived the following afternoon. June watched the plumber wheel the rusted one through the laundry on a dolly, leaving a trail of orange drops. The new tank looked plain and disappointingly small for something that had consumed a gold watch and $700 from savings. When the water was hot, June stood beneath the shower until the mirror clouded. She washed her hair twice. She used one of Ruth's stolen hotel soaps and hung Tessa's blue fish curtain so it billowed around her. Downstairs, dryer 4 turned for the first time in years. It made a low, steady sound that traveled through the floor. June dressed, went down, and found Mateo kneeling beside washer 6. "Try it," he said. She fed Inez's 4 quarters into the slot and pushed the tray. Water rushed into the drum. The machine shuddered, steadied, and began to turn. June watched through the scratched glass as nothing at all was washed. Still, it turned. The empty cycle took 32 minutes. June stayed for all of them. Mateo moved to washer 11, listening while June watched number 6 fill, agitate, drain, and spin. The machine trembled hard enough to rattle its lid, but it remained in place. "Is it supposed to do that?" she asked. "It's excited. It looks frightened. Same motion." When the drum stopped, he checked the floor for leaks and declared 6 ready for clothing. 11 required another hour and several words in Spanish that he did not translate. By late afternoon, both washers and both dryers were working. 4 machines looked lonely in a room built for 20. So June removed the yellow tape from the others and replaced it with neat white signs that said, "Out of service." Tessa suggested adding, "For now," beneath them. June told her one promise on the front door was enough. She chose opening hours by studying bus schedules, the takeout restaurant's busiest times, and the habits Inez had mentioned. Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday, 7 in the morning until 4. Mateo pointed out that Dean had kept the place open until 8. Dean wasn't living upstairs, June said. "People wash after work. Then they'll have to do it before work. You asked my opinion." "No, you saw a blank sign and developed one." The sign went into the window beside "closed until further notice." June crossed out the word "closed," wrote "open Thursday" above it, and spent 10 minutes trying to make the lettering look intentional. Claire arrived while she was taping the corners. She had brought the house key June had left on the kitchen counter, sealed in a small envelope. "You forgot this," she said. "I returned it. You still have things in the hall closet. 2 coats and an umbrella. I thought you might want to get them yourself." June took the envelope. "Thank you." Claire looked past her at the machines. Mateo was cleaning a dryer vent near the back. Dust had settled on his hair and shoulders. "So, this is open now? Thursday? With 4 machines?" "With 4 machines." Claire nodded in the way she did when a waiter explained that a menu item was unavailable. "That's a start." "It is. I'm glad you found something to occupy you." June pressed the last strip of tape across the sign. "I wasn't worried about being occupied. No, I just mean, after Dad. You were used to having a schedule. My schedule was your father." Claire looked toward the washer 6. He hated this place. He hated needing it. He didn't need it. It paid his mother's bills for 20 years. And then it became a burden. June turned. "Is that what he called it?" Claire's chin lifted. For a moment, June thought she might answer honestly. Instead, she opened her handbag and withdrew a folded sheet of paper. I'm putting together the memorial dinner. Aunt Ellen says there should be 42 people, but I only count 37. Would you look at the list? Now? Whenever you have a minute. Also, the silver needs polishing before the estate sale. I put it on the sideboard with the cream. You want me to polish the silver you said wasn't mine? I thought you'd know how to do it properly. Mateo's scraping stopped for half a second, then resumed. June took the list. I'll come tomorrow afternoon. Could you bring flowers? Nothing funeral looking. Dad hated lilies. He hated the smell. I know. June nearly asked how Claire could know that, and still not know what her father had required every morning for 11 years. But she had learned that knowledge did not divide fairly. People could remember a man's hatred of lilies while forgetting who changed his clothes. I'll find something, she said. Claire glanced at the handwritten opening sign. You should have that professionally made. Yes, it looks temporary. It is temporary. After she left, Mateo emerged from behind the dryer. That was a lot of work she gave you. It's a guest list, and some silver. And flowers. I heard you hearing. I was trying not to. You failed. He packed his tools. You want me here Thursday morning? I thought the machines were ready. They are. Then why would I need you? He gave her a level look. 7:30? She asked. I'll be here at 8. Inez arrived at 6:40 Thursday morning and knocked until June came downstairs in slippers. You said 7, June told her through the glass. I work at 7. You said you came after your shift. That was Tuesday. June unlocked the door. This is Thursday. I know what day it is. I've already lived 3 hours of it. Inez carried 2 white bags this time. She set $4 in quarters on the counter, then added the 4 quarters she had deposited earlier in her imagination. 6, she said. 6 is ready. Did you tell it I was coming? It refused to discuss you. Inez loaded the washer with navy scrubs and white undershirts, measuring detergent into the cap with the concentration of a pharmacist. June watched the first quarter drop, listening for the click Mateo had shown her. The coin registered. All 4 did. When water began running, Inez laid both palms against the lid. There you are. June pretended to straighten the price sign. The second customer came at 7:20, a man from the takeout restaurant carrying aprons and a plastic tub. He left after learning only 2 washers worked and 1 was occupied. At 8, an older woman put a comforter into number 11, decided it looked too crowded, removed it, tried again, then accused the machine of being smaller than it appeared. Mateo arrived at 8:03 and spent 40 minutes correcting the dryer vent, before admitting he had come mainly to see whether anything failed. By 10, June had collected $18 in quarters and given back $3 after dryer 2 stopped heating. Mateo repaired it without charging labor, though he wrote the replacement fuse in the ledger. At noon, the room was empty. June ate a cheese sandwich behind the counter and listened to the hum of fluorescent lights. Outside, people passed without looking at the sign. A delivery driver parked in front long enough to block the entrance, then waved apologetically through the glass without moving. At 1:15, Inez returned. You still here? June asked. I like to make sure my clothes survive before wearing them to work. She pulled her uniforms from dryer 4, shook each one, and began folding at the long table. Do you ever do service? She asked. What service? Wash and fold. I leave a bag, you wash it, dry it, fold it. I pay you more than I would if I had time and good knees. My knees aren't especially good. Better than mine after 10 hours. June picked up one of the Navy shirts. Dean never offered that. Dean acted like touching another person's socks violated the Constitution. How much do people charge? I pay $22 across town for this much. That seems high. It seems high because you think labor should be embarrassed to ask. June looked at her. Inez kept folding. 18 would be fair here. Machines cost less. I could do it for 15. I said fair, not grateful. 18 then. Inez nodded. Tomorrow? We're closed tomorrow. You live upstairs. That isn't the same as being open. Good. You're learning. She handed June the second white bag. The afternoon brought 3 more customers and 1 argument with the change machine, which accepted a $5 bill and returned 16 quarters instead of 20. June paid the missing dollar from the cash box and taped another sign over the slot. At 4, her feet ached. The ledger showed $36.75 in machine income, less the refunded dryer money and the change shortage. Mateo's fuse cost $6. The lights, water, detergent, and heat had consumed amounts she could not calculate until the bills arrived. She turned the sign to closed. A woman waiting outside stepped forward before June could lock the door. She was carrying 3 garment bags and a sewing machine case. "Are you June?" "That depends on what's broken. Inez sent me." "That also depends." The woman smiled. She had a long face, bright red glasses, and a tape measure looped around her neck like a necklace. "I'm Simone Price. I do alterations." "I'm not taking in alterations." "I am." June glanced at the sewing machine. "Here? Possibly?" Simone set the case inside and pointed toward the unused front counter where Dean had once sold detergent and cigarettes. "I need 2 days a week. My apartment looks like a sleeve factory, and my landlord is tired of people ringing the wrong bells. You have space. I have customers who bring clothes. Clothes need washing. Sometimes after alterations, sometimes before, if people are inconsiderate." June looked at the counter. Beneath it were empty shelves, an old cash register that no longer opened, and a faded sign advertising fabric softener for 25 cents. "I just opened today." "So you haven't developed expensive habits. I don't know what to charge. $40 a week for Tuesdays and Thursdays. I bring my own machine, thread, iron, and bad opinions. I use one outlet. The outlets upstairs spark. I'm asking about down here. I need to have them checked. Then check them. I'm not trying to die in a laundromat." June almost said no. The thought of another person arranging herself inside the space made ownership feel uncertain. For 11 years, every object in the house had been placed according to Dean's reach, Dean's safety, Dean's temper. The flat was barely hers. She had not expected to defend the laundry from a woman with red glasses. "Trial month," June said. "$35 a week until I know what your iron does to the electric bill." "$38, $35. Simone held out her hand. "You're tougher than Inez said." "What did Inez say?" "That you look surprised to be standing." June shook her hand. "Tuesday." Simone picked up her case. "I'll need that old register moved. It belongs there. It's dead. So are several things I still haven't moved." Simone studied her, then nodded as though June had provided useful measurements. "Tuesday," she repeated. The phone rang as June locked the door behind her. Claire asked whether June had reviewed the memorial list. Then she wanted to know if white roses were too bridal, whether the caterer needed to be warned about Aunt Ellen's digestion, and if June could come at 9 instead of noon to polish the silver. "Yes," June said. When she hung up, Simone was still outside, adjusting the garment bags in her car. That sounded like a lot of "yes," she called. June raised one hand in dismissal and went upstairs. The flat smelled faintly of fresh paint and tomato soup. She warmed the last of it, sat in the blue armchair, and opened the ledger on her knees. $33.75 after the refund and shortage. Not profit, barely income. Still, it had come through the door because the door was hers to open. Something pressed beneath her heel. June reached under the chair and found Dean's brown slipper, the one Claire had placed on the seat before the move. It must have fallen when Owen removed the chair's feet. June held it for a while, thumb resting in the worn hollow where Dean's big toe had pushed against the leather. Then she set it beside the face-down photograph on the bedroom dresser. The next morning, she washed Inez's uniforms before breakfast. She treated the collars, checked every pocket, dried the shirts until they were warm but not stiff, and folded them into clean rectangles. It took an hour and 20 minutes. Inez arrived at 10, inspected the stack, and set $18 on the counter. June started to give back 3. Inez closed June's fingers over the bills. "Don't insult the work," she said. After she left, June placed the money in a separate envelope. On the front, she wrote "folding." For once, the work had a name before someone needed it. The envelope stopped lying flat after Inez sent 2 nurses and a respiratory therapist from her floor. All 3 worked nights. They arrived just after 7 in the morning, with bags of uniforms and the tender irritability of people who had already had a full day before breakfast. June learned to check scrub pockets for alcohol wipes, pens, lip balm, and once a sealed packet of crackers crushed nearly to powder. She charged by the bag because she did not own a scale. Inez said this was generous to people with large bags and dangerous around anyone who understood geometry. "I'll buy a scale when I've earned one," June said. "You'll earn one faster if you stop letting people bring bags shaped like livestock." The folding work filled the hours between customers. It also filled June's shoulders with a deep ache that began near her neck and traveled down both arms. She learned to sit while matching socks and to use the long table instead of carrying every warm load to the counter. On Simone's first Tuesday, she arrived at 6:50 with her sewing machine, a tabletop ironing board, 3 garment bags, a small fan, and a frame sign reading, Simone Price Alterations, Hems, Waists, Sleeves, Second Chances. You alter second chances? June asked. Mostly sleeves. Second chances pay slowly. Simone moved the dead cash register herself, after June refused to let Matteo carry it while he was repairing washer 11. Beneath it, they found 6 pennies, a peppermint fused to its wrapper, and a photograph of Dean standing beside the old detergent display. He looked about 45, thinner, darker-haired, annoyed with whoever held the camera. Simone handed the photograph to June. "You keeping that?" June looked at it for only a second. "Put it in the drawer. The drawer sticks. Then it won't get out." By 9, Simone had established a fitting area behind a folding screen and rearranged the counters so efficiently that June resented her for almost 11 minutes. Her first customer came carrying 2 pairs of trousers over one arm. While he waited to be measured, he fed his work shirts into washer 6. Simone's second customer brought a dress and left, with a wash and fold price list. At noon, the iron and dryer 4 tripped a breaker. The laundry went silent except for washer 11, which continued filling with water until Matteo reached behind it and closed the valve. Simone stood holding the iron. This was not on purpose. "You said 1 outlet. I used 1 outlet. It appears you used all the electricity through it." Matteo opened the breaker panel. "The iron can't run with both dryers, so I iron when people wash and sew when they dry," Simone said. June stared at her. "What?" "I believe in adapting. $38 a week. You said 35. You've introduced scheduling." Simone considered, then held out her hand. 37. They settled at 36. The extra money did not transform the ledger, but it gave June a number that arrived whether the machines behaved or not. More important, Simone's customers stopped the laundry from feeling empty. They talked while waiting for Hems, compared detergent, and argued about whether a skirt that had not fit in 8 years should be altered or forgiven. Walter Kim came in on a Thursday carrying a duvet and a green trash bag. He was 72, narrow through the shoulders, with silver hair cut so precisely that June assumed someone loved him or charged him regularly. "Which one handles this?" he asked. "Neither," June said. "Not properly." He looked at the 2 working washers. "The sign says laundromat. The sign is optimistic." Walter accepted this and brought the duvet to a larger laundry across town. He returned the following week with sheets. While dryer 2 ran, he sat near the window reading a paperback about naval history. Every few minutes, he glanced toward the glass. "You lose heat here," he said. "I lose heat everywhere. The top sash has a gap." June joined him at the window. Cold air pressed through a line no wider than a pencil. "I was planning to put plastic over it. Plastic looks terrible. It's clear. It looks clearly terrible." Walter lived 3 blocks away in a brick duplex with the same windows. His wife had died 4 years earlier. He mentioned her only after June asked where he had learned to repair old sashes. Marion refused replacement windows, he said. Said vinyl had no soul. Did the wooden ones have heat? No, but they had soul. He offered to show June how to seal the gaps if she bought the materials. She almost refused on principle, then remembered Tessa's accusation about accepting care only when it could be disguised as necessity. "Do you like lentil soup?" she asked. "I don't work for soup. I don't accept free window repair. Then I like lentil soup." They spent a cold Monday afternoon sealing the flat's windows with rope caulk and replacing 2 cracked strips of glazing. Walter worked slowly and complained whenever June climbed the stepladder. "I am 6 years younger than you," she reminded him. "That doesn't improve your balance. You don't know my balance. I've seen you get off the floor." She made soup while he finished the bedroom window. They ate at the small kitchen table Owen had delivered after discovering he did not have space for it. Walter took 1 bowl, declined a second, and left before the exchange could become gratitude. That night, the flat held warmth for almost an hour after June turned down the heater. Tessa called while June was taping wash and fold slips to 3 white bags. "You sound tired," she said. "I have customers. Customers are allowed to exhaust you because they pay. It helps." "How much have you made?" "I'm not discussing that until I know whether I'm making it or moving it around." "Did you buy the scale?" "Not yet." Mom, I have been asked about that scale by 2 women in 2 states. It is beginning to feel organized. Tessa laughed. Then her voice changed. Claire called me. Why? She wanted Aunt Ellen's phone number. You don't have Aunt Ellen's number. I know. She also wanted to tell me you've become uncooperative. June tied one bag closed. I polished 12 place settings of silver. Apparently you used the wrong cream. It was the cream she put out. Then I'm sure you used it with a hostile attitude. June sat at the folding table. The memorial dinner is Sunday. You're going? Of course. The laundry's open Sunday. I'll close at 1. There was a pause. Did Claire ask you to close? She needs help with the flowers. Does she need help, or does she need you? That sounds like a distinction invented by someone with a spare room. Come to Pittsburgh and I'll stop mentioning the spare room. I'm hanging up now. Eat something that requires chewing. June hung up, smiling despite herself. The memorial dinner grew each time Claire called. 42 guests became 46. White roses became white and pale pink, because Aunt Ellen associated white roses with hospitals. The caterer needed access to the kitchen at 10, but Claire had scheduled the photographer to take final house pictures at 9. Could June arrive early to make sure no serving dishes were visible in the photographs? Could she bring extra vases? Did she remember how Dean liked the dining chairs placed? He liked them under the table, June said. You know what I mean. Yes, June said. I always do. Saturday night, June had 6 wash and fold orders stacked behind the counter. 3 were due Sunday afternoon. She planned to wash them before opening, close at 1, arrange Claire's flowers, attend the first hour of the dinner, and return before dark. The plan required every machine and every minute to behave. At 6 Sunday morning, washer 11 refused to drain. June called Mateo, who answered with a voice that sounded buried under blankets. It hums, she told him. Machines do. It hums without draining. Turn it off. Use 6. I'll come after 9. I have 6 orders. You have 1 working washer? I understand the arithmetic. Then why did you wake me? To see if it improved when spoken aloud. It had not. June loaded the first bag into 6 and carried 2 loads upstairs to use the small residential washer in the flat's kitchen alcove. She opened the laundry at 7, served 4 self-service customers around her own baskets, and fed dryer 4 quarters until its heat stabilized. Mateo arrived at 9:20, hair still damp from a shower. A coin had slipped past washer 11's trap and lodged in the pump. He removed it, held it up, and looked at June. A quarter broke a machine that takes quarters? She asked. Life has jokes. He had 11 running by 10. At 11:40, Claire called. The roses are here, she said. Good, they're still in boxes. The caterer can put them in water. The caterer is setting tables. When are you coming? I said 1. The guests arrive at 3. I need you before 1. June looked at the laundry. 3 clean orders sat folded in plastic bags. 2 wet loads turned in the dryers. The final bag was washing in 11. I can be there at 12:30. You know the vases better than I do. They hold flowers, Claire. Why are you making this difficult? June closed her eyes. Across the room, Simone's empty counter waited behind the folding screen. The white walls reflected the cold winter light. Washer 11 churned steadily. I'll be there in 20 minutes, June said. She locked the front door, left a note saying she would reopen at 2, and drove to the house. The roses were spread across the kitchen island in long cardboard boxes. Claire had purchased 5 different kinds, though all of them looked white to June. Owen was moving chairs. The caterer asked where to find platters. Aunt Ellen arrived early and wanted tea. June cut stems, filled vases, found the platters, made tea, and moved the dining chairs 2 inches farther from the table because Claire said the room looked cramped. At 1:15, June checked her phone. A missed call from Mateo, then another. She called him back. Where are you? He asked. At the house. You need to come. What happened? There's a pipe above the folding tables. June gripped the phone. What about it? It isn't above them anymore. She left with wet rose leaves clinging to her sleeves. Water had spread from the rear of the laundry to the front counter by the time she arrived. Mateo had shut off the main valve, but the ceiling continued to drip in 3 places. A section of plaster hung above the folding tables like soaked cardboard. One of the clean order shelves had collapsed. White bags floated open in gray water. June stepped through the doorway and felt cold water close over the tops of her shoes. On the floor beneath the table, a stack of navy uniforms slowly darkened with rust. June reached for the uniforms. Mateo caught her wrist. Don't stand under that. They're clean. They were clean. Another piece of plaster dropped onto the folding table with a wet slap. June stepped back. Water ran from her shoes when she moved. Mateo had pushed the machines away from the deepest part of the flood and lifted the electrical cords onto the counter. The main valve was closed, but every pipe in the building seemed to be emptying itself through the hole overhead. Brown drops struck the tile with maddening patience. "Whose clothes?" he asked. June knew each order by its bag. The Navy uniforms belonged to the respiratory therapist, Marla. 2 white shirts and gray trousers belonged to a restaurant manager named Dennis. The flowered pillowcases were Inez's, part of a load she had left with June that morning. "There are 3 orders on the floor. Can they be washed again? Rust doesn't always come out." "We'll try." June looked at the collapsed shelf. The clean ones were supposed to go higher. They were high, not high enough. Mateo released her wrist and pointed toward the door. "Take off your shoes before you fall. I don't have other shoes. You live upstairs. My other shoes are packed behind the blue chair. Then you know where they are." June wanted to tell him she did not need instructions in her own building. Instead, she climbed the stairs in wet socks, changed into an old pair of sneakers, and returned with every towel she owned. Mateo had found a push broom and was directing water toward the floor drain. The drain accepted a narrow stream and rejected the rest. At 1:40, Claire called. June watched her name flash on the screen. "Answer," Mateo said. "You answer." "I don't know, Claire. You're fortunate." The call stopped. It began again less than a minute later. June pressed the phone to her ear. "What?" There was party noise behind Claire's voice. Plates, conversation, someone laughing too loudly. "Where are you? People are asking." The laundry flooded. "What do you mean flooded? A pipe broke. Is it bad?" June looked at the uniforms in gray water. "Yes." "Did you call someone?" "Mateo is here." "Who?" "The man fixing my machines." "Can he handle it?" June almost laughed. "It's my building. I know, but the toast is in 20 minutes. Aunt Ellen wants you at her table, and the caterer can't find the small serving spoon for the chutney. Use a large one. June. Claire." The silence between them was brief and crowded. "I'm sorry about the pipe," Claire said, "but you left without saying anything." "I said the laundry flooded. You could have asked Owen to go. To my business, to the building. There are customers' clothes on the floor." Claire lowered her voice. "Everybody here knew Dad. This dinner matters." June looked at the roses still clinging to her sleeve. "So does this," she said, and ended the call. Mateo kept his face turned toward the drain. "You heard? The building echoes? You could pretend better." "I could." He did not. The plumber arrived while June was trying to reach the 3 customers whose clothes had been damaged. Dennis answered first. He listened, sighed, and asked whether his shirts were ruined. "I don't know yet," June said. "I'll rewash them somewhere else tonight. If they don't come clean, I'll pay to replace them. They're work shirts, I know. One's new. I'm sorry." He was quiet for a moment. "Call me tomorrow." Marla was less patient. She had a 12-hour shift beginning at 6 the next morning and 2 clean uniforms left at home. "I trusted you with all the others." "I understand." "No, you don't. I can't go to work in something stained. I'll have them re-washed tonight." "Where?" "Your machines are underwater. At another laundry." Marla exhaled sharply. "I should have gone there in the first place." The call ended before June could answer. Inez arrived while June was still holding the phone. She took in the wet floor, the torn ceiling, and her pillowcases on the folding table. "Further notice is back," she said. "I'm sorry. They're pillowcases. They were clean. They can become clean twice." June nodded toward the Navy uniforms. "Marla's angry." Marla was angry before the flood. "It's one of her hobbies. She has to work. So do you." The plumber opened the ceiling farther to reach the broken pipe. The noise of tearing plaster filled the laundry. A corroded joint had split along one side. He showed June the thin orange edge as if presenting a diagnosis. "Could I have known?" she asked. "If you opened the ceiling." "Why would I open a ceiling that wasn't leaking?" He shrugged. "Old building." The answer cost $840, not including the ceiling repair. June wrote the check with wet cuffs and tried not to calculate what remained in savings. The watch had bought hot water. The pipe took most of what had been set aside for a third washer. Owen came through the door at 3:30 carrying 2 shop vacuums. "Claire called," he said. "Did she send you for the chutney spoon?" She told me not to leave. But you did. There were 46 people there. I wasn't essential. Neither was I. I didn't say that. He changed into rubber boots and worked without asking where to begin. One vacuum belonged to him. The other he had borrowed from a friend. Mateo fed towels through the utility sink once the water was restored. Inez separated clothing by color and damage. No one discussed the memorial dinner. By 6, the floor was mostly dry. The laundry smelled of wet plaster and disinfectant. A square of open ceiling exposed the pipes above the folding tables. Simone arrived with plastic bins and moved the 3 damaged orders into them. My cousin uses a 24-hour place on Grant, she said. Big machines, clean. I'm taking them there. I'll drive. You don't need to. I didn't say I needed to. June heard Tessa in the words and stopped objecting. The Grant Street laundry was bright, crowded, and warm enough to make June's damp clothes smell sour. Every machine worked. There were rolling carts, digital timers, 2 change machines, and an attendant who wiped the folding tables every hour. June fed bills into a washer large enough to hold all 3 damaged orders. Simone treated the rust marks with a solution from her sewing kit, warning that the white shirts might not recover. You can't promise fabric things, she said. That's why I never say a hem will change a marriage. Has anyone asked? Twice. They sat beneath a television playing a cooking competition with the sound off. June had not eaten since her early breakfast. Simone bought crackers from the vending machine and split the package without comment. You missed the dinner? She asked. Yes. You want to be there? June watched the damaged clothes turn behind glass. I wanted to want to be there. That's complicated. It was simpler before Dean died. No, it was organized. June looked at her. Simone ate another cracker. Complicated can be organized. You had pills at 6, breakfast at 7, resentment around 9. You've known me 3 weeks. I alter clothing. People talk when you put pins near their waist. The rust came out of Inez's pillowcases. Dennis's gray trousers survived. One white shirt retained a pale orange shadow along the cuff. Marla's uniforms looked clean until June held them beneath the fluorescent lights. 2 had blotches near the hem. She washed them again. The marks faded, but remained. June called Marla at 10:30. I'll replace 2, she said. I can bring the others before midnight. I've already made arrangements. I'll still replace them. Marla gave her the brand and size. Her voice was less angry, which made June feel worse. I won't be coming back, she said. I understand. At the all-night uniform store near the hospital, the 2 sets cost $96. June paid for them, delivered everything to the hospital entrance, and returned to Mercer Wash after midnight. Owen had left 1 shop vacuum and a note on the counter. I'll come tomorrow, don't argue. Mateo had taped plastic beneath the open ceiling. Simone carried the empty bins to her car. You going upstairs? She asked. In a minute. Go now. I have to update the ledger. The money will still be gone in the morning. June sat behind the counter after Simone left. She added the plumber, the replacement uniforms, the outside laundry, refunds, and ceiling materials. The page looked as if the building had reached into her savings and taken a handful. Tessa called at 12:40. Owen had told her. Are you hurt? She asked. No. Why didn't you call? I was busy not being hurt. I can leave in the morning. You have work. So do you, apparently. June rested her forehead against one hand. Don't come. Do you mean that? Yes. Call tomorrow. Tessa was quiet. All right. The ease of it stung. Then Tessa added, I'm not coming because you asked me not to. Don't confuse that with not wanting to. June closed her eyes. I won't. She slept 4 hours and reopened only the front door the next morning so customers could retrieve finished orders. A sign explained that the machines would remain closed until the ceiling was repaired and the wiring checked. 3 people read it and left. One asked when she expected to reopen. June had no answer. Claire arrived before noon. She wore the black dress from the memorial dinner and carried a casserole wrapped in foil. You should eat, she said, placing it on the counter. June looked at the dish. Thank you. Claire surveyed the torn ceiling. This is worse than I pictured. What did you picture? A leak. This was enthusiastic. Claire took a careful step around the stacked towels. The dinner went well. Aunt Ellen was upset you left. I'm sure she recovered. People noticed. People usually do when someone becomes absent. Claire folded her arms. Why are you angry with me? I didn't break the pipe. No, I brought you food. Yes, I'm trying. June looked at her daughter-in-law's, no, her husband's daughter's face. Claire had never belonged to June in the way June had once hoped. Still, June knew the tiny muscle that jumped beside her mouth when she felt accused. I cannot keep doing things for the house, June said. The dinner is over. I mean any of it. No more cleaning, no more silver, no more guest lists, receipts, curtains, flowers, or making things look as if no one has been hurt. Claire stared at her. We're all hurt. I know. You act like you're the only one who lost him. I lost him long before the funeral, in pieces. I won't lose the rest of myself, making his death comfortable for you. Claire's face reddened. You've become selfish since Dad died. June had no quick answer. The old answer would have been an apology, followed by an offer to help with whatever remained. Behind Claire, the closed sign hung crooked in the wet window. Above them, the plastic sheet trembled beneath a drop of water that had nowhere useful to go. No, June said. I have become visible. Claire's face went still. You think I don't see you. I think you see what I can do for you. That isn't fair. No, it isn't. The casserole sat between them on the counter, foil pinched neatly around the edges. Someone had written Chicken Divan on a piece of masking tape across the top. June wondered which guest had brought it and whether Claire had chosen it, because she knew June disliked broccoli, or because she did not. Claire glanced at Mateo's plastic sheet. A drop struck it and rolled toward the middle. I knew about the laundry, she said. June did not move. Before Dad died, Claire added. How long before? Last spring, 9 months. Through Dean's final hospitalization, the weeks of pureed food, the rented oxygen machine, and the night Claire sat in the kitchen crying because her father no longer remembered the name of her first husband. June gripped the counter. You saw the arrangement. I saw a copy while we were organizing his files. And I asked him about it. What did he say? He said you had the laundry in the upstairs apartment. He said you'd be fine. June let out one breath. And that satisfied you? No, but it stopped you. Claire looked toward the front windows. The house belonged to my mother, too. Not legally. You know what I mean. There it was again. Claire's favorite phrase for pain she considered too obvious to explain. My mother chose the wallpaper in the dining room, she continued. She planted the dogwood. Then Dad married you, and suddenly everything in that house looked like it had always been yours. I never said it was. You didn't have to. You were there. June heard the accusation beneath the words. She had been there when Dean grew ill, there when Claire visited, there when holidays happened without Claire's mother. Claire had mistaken proximity for victory because she had never witnessed the private cost. So, you saw what he had done, June said, and you were afraid changing it might cost you the house. Claire's eyes filled, but her voice hardened. I thought he would take care of it. You knew he hadn't. I thought you knew too. June stared at her. The lie was so poorly made that Claire looked ashamed before it was finished. Take the casserole, June said. I brought it for you. Then leave it and go. Claire picked up her handbag. At the door, she stopped. I did love him. I know. You make it sound like loving him was something only you did correctly. No, June said. I did it badly for a very long time. Claire left without the casserole. Owen came early the next morning, exactly as his note had promised. He brought work gloves, coffee, and a box of industrial trash bags. Behind him, Walter carried a floor fan large enough to cool a church basement. I heard you had water, Walter said. News travels. Inez said it did not require privacy. She's generous that way. Walter set the fan near the open ceiling. Borrowed this from my building manager. Return it clean. I'll make soup. I did not say soup. You'll eat it. He nodded. Probably. Simone arrived after 10 and packed her fabric, thread, and fitting screen into plastic bins. June told her she would not charge rent until the laundry reopened. You're fixing the ceiling, Simone said. I still have a counter. Under a pipe. Everything is under something. Take the free week. Simone considered arguing, then wrote, paid through next Tuesday on an envelope and placed $36 inside. You don't listen, June said. I listen, then I decide. June put the envelope back into Simone's sewing case. Simone returned it to the cash box. They passed it back and forth twice before Mateo threatened to charge both of them for the time. The ceiling repair took 3 days. The plasterer cut away the damaged section, replaced soaked insulation, and installed new board, An electrician confirmed the machine circuits had stayed dry, but condemned the outlet Simone had used for her iron. June paid to have a separate one installed behind the alterations counter. The total was not catastrophic. It was worse, manageable only by reducing something else. The third washer would wait. So would the replacement bedroom window and the used dining chairs June had been considering. She wrote every expense in the ledger and did not add it to the fear column. Owen worked beside her all 3 mornings. He hauled ruined plaster, cleaned lint from the dryer vents, and installed metal shelving high enough to keep clean orders off the floor. When he finished Tuesday, June counted out $45. He frowned. "What's that?" "3 hours. I'm not taking your money. You worked. I'm helping. Then help someone who doesn't pay." "June." She held out the bills. "I'm not doing free family labor anymore. I'm not accepting it either. That's not the same. It becomes the same when somebody wants credit later." Owen's face tightened. "You think I'd use this against you? I think both of us should know what happened." He looked at the money, then took it. 15 an hour is low," he said. "You were late Tuesday. I was 7 minutes early. You spent 20 minutes discussing the shelving. Planning is labor. Not at Mercer Wash." He folded the bills into his wallet. "Next Tuesday, if you want the hours." "What am I doing?" "Lint traps, floors. Change machine if Mateo shows you. You have employees now?" "1, he argues. I learned from management." He came the next Tuesday, and every Tuesday after that. Tessa did not appear uninvited. She called each evening, asked direct questions, and accepted June's answers even when she disliked them. On Friday, she asked whether she could visit Sunday. "Is that your day off?" June asked. "I arranged it." "You don't have to paint anything, I know, or buy anything." There was a pause. "What did you buy?" "Nothing major." "Tessa, it's a scale." June looked at the overfilled laundry bag waiting beside the counter. "What kind?" "The kind that weighs things." "I understand scales in theory. It has a large platform and numbers you can see without kneeling." June tried to object, but relief arrived first. "Bring it," she said. Tessa came Sunday morning while June was reopening. The new ceiling patch was still bright white against the older tiles. The floor had been scrubbed twice, though a faint rust-colored line remained beneath the folding table. Inez was the first customer through the door. She placed her pillowcases on the counter. "I wash those for free," June said. "You washed them twice. Charge me double. They were in the flood. They are clean. That doesn't make the flood a service." Inez dropped quarters into washer 6. "You can argue or open the door for the people behind me." There were 3. Not a crowd. Not enough to replace what the closure had cost. But they came in, loaded machines, and sat beneath the repaired ceiling without looking up every time a pipe knocked. Tessa set the scale near the wash and fold shelves. It was sturdy, plain, and exactly what June needed. She did not ask how much it cost. They weighed the first bag together, 21 pounds. "You were charging $15 for this?" Tessa asked. 18. "That's still low. I'm adjusting." "You're being robbed by pillowcases. Inez warned me about geometry." Tessa printed a simple price sheet on the small office printer she had brought from Pittsburgh. They agreed on a per-pound rate, a minimum charge, and extra cost for blankets. June insisted on rounding down. Tessa insisted that the scale's numbers were not suggestions. At 4, after the last customer left, they carried soup upstairs. Walter joined them to collect his fan, and Simone brought bread wrapped in a clean dish towel. Mateo declined twice, then appeared with a 6-pack of soda and claimed he had misunderstood the invitation. Owen arrived late with a bag of ice. "You live 6 minutes away," June said. "The gas station line was long. You forgot." I remembered near the gas station. The kitchen table had room for 4, so Mateo and Owen ate from bowls balanced on their knees. Simone praised the yellow walls. Walter pointed out one unsealed section near the kitchen window. Tessa asked Mateo whether Washer 11 was supposed to sound like a small aircraft. Mateo said only during takeoff. They talked about the laundry, the takeout restaurant, Simone's worst alteration requests, and Walter's late wife's campaign against vinyl windows. No one mentioned Dean until Owen noticed the photograph on the bedroom dresser, now turned upright. "You kept that one," he said. June followed his eyes. The picture showed Dean before the stroke, standing beside her at a picnic, one hand shielding his face from the sun. She had turned it over that morning without deciding to. "I kept more than one." Owen nodded and returned to his soup. After everyone left, Tessa helped wash the bowls. She stood at the sink while June dried, working slowly because neither wanted the evening to end with a declaration. "I'm sorry about what I said at the house," Tessa said. "You weren't wrong. I was cruel. So was I." Tessa passed her a bowl. "Why did you stay?" June wiped the rim, though it was already dry. "At first because I loved him, then because he needed me. Later, I'm not sure I knew the difference. You could have left." "I did. For 4 months. Those 4 months were terrible. For him. For me." June set the bowl in the cabinet. "Nobody knew where I was. Nobody needed dinner at 6. I had spent so long being necessary that being alone felt like being erased." Tessa turned off the tap. "So you went back. Being needed felt safer than being known." The kitchen went quiet except for a bus braking outside. Tessa leaned against the counter. "I stayed angry because it was safer too. If I was angry, I didn't have to keep asking you to choose me." June held the dish towel between both hands. "I should have chosen you more. You shouldn't have had to choose. But I did." Tessa looked toward the yellow living room, the blue chair, the slippers June had left beside the bedroom dresser. "I don't know what to do with that," she said. "Neither do I." It was not forgiveness. It was better than the version of forgiveness June had practiced with Dean, where pain was covered before it could be cleaned. Tessa stayed until Monday morning. Before leaving, she wrote "Sunday call" on the wall calendar above June's telephone. "I know how to use a phone," June said. "I know how you use one. You answer questions and hang up. What will we discuss? Something other than dead men and broken machines." Their first Sunday call lasted 19 minutes. Tessa complained about a supervisor who scheduled meetings through lunch. June described Simone's argument with a customer who wanted 3 inches removed from a dress while keeping the original length. Dean's name did not enter. When they hung up, June sat for a while at the kitchen table. Downstairs, Owen had left the floors clean, the lint traps empty, and his signed timesheet beneath the cash box. June added his hours to the ledger, then she paid them. The first hard cold entered through the laundry floor. June felt it through both soles while she counted quarters. The radiators upstairs had begun knocking before dawn, then gone quiet. By 7, her breath showed faintly near the back door. Walter arrived with sheets, took off one glove, and touched the radiator beneath the front window. "Cold," he said. "I had noticed." "Boiler?" "I was hoping it was weather. The weather is outside." Mateo agreed to look, even after reminding June 3 times that boilers were not laundry machines. He found the pilot light, relit it, and watched it go out. "That's the limit of my useful knowledge," he said. "Beyond this, I become a man touching dangerous metal." The heating company sent someone that afternoon. June followed him into the basement, where the boiler crouched behind Owen's abandoned shelving, wrapped in pipes and dust. The technician replaced a valve, cleaned a burner, and warned that the circulation pump would not survive another winter. "How long is another winter?" June asked. "Could be a week, could be March. Can you narrow that?" "Not without lying. The valve and labor cost $680. The pump failed 5 days later. By then, the temperature upstairs was 52 degrees. June slept in socks, a sweater, and the knitted blanket from Dean's chair. She boiled water in the kettle and carried it into the bathroom to wash, refusing to replace a hot water heater, only to freeze beside it. The new pump, installation, and another corroded fitting consumed $3,100. June wrote the check at the kitchen table, with both hands wrapped around a mug for warmth. When the radiators finally hissed, she stood beside the bedroom one until heat touched her knees. There was less than $5,000 left in savings. Tessa learned the number during their Sunday call. "How close are you to stopping?" she asked. The boiler stopped. "I fixed it." "I mean you?" "I'm not a machine." "Exactly." June looked through the kitchen doorway. The yellow living room was warm, the windows no longer leaked, and the blue armchair held a stack of unfolded towels. Downstairs, only 4 machines worked. The third washer had become a line in the ledger with no date beside it. "I need another source of income for a while," June said. "That sentence worries me more than it should. The grocery warehouse needs evening inventory clerks through February. You're 67, they know. I didn't lie on the form. What hours? 6 to 10, 3 nights a week. You open the laundry at 7, not the next morning. You do wash and fold on closed days. I'll take fewer bags." Tessa was quiet. "Say it," June said. I think you're treating exhaustion like evidence. Of what? That you deserve the place. June's first answer rose hot and immediate. She swallowed it. I think, Tessa continued, you could let me lend you money. No, you didn't even ask the terms. The terms are that I owe my daughter money. The terms are no interest and you pay me when you can. That is owing my daughter money with better manners. You let Owen work. I pay Owen. You let Walter seal the windows. I fed Walter. You let Simone rent the counter. That is not charity. She frightens customers into getting their sleeves shortened. Tessa sighed. Take the job if you want the job. Don't take it, because suffering makes your decision more respectable. June wrote that sentence on the back of an unpaid utility envelope after they hung up, then resented Tessa each time she saw it. The warehouse hired her for 6 weeks. The work was not difficult until it repeated. June counted canned vegetables, boxes of cereal, paper towels, and detergent under fluorescent lights, while a supervisor named Leonard scanned her totals. She liked Leonard because he explained tasks once and expected adults to remember. She disliked him because he walked quickly. After 4 hours, June's feet felt swollen inside her shoes. On the drive home, she sometimes sat in the parked car for several minutes before trusting her knees on the stairs. She reduced wash and fold orders from 12 bags a week to 8. Inez complained on behalf of the people June turned away. You're creating scarcity, she said. Very fashionable. I'm creating sleep. Also fashionable. The laundry continued to earn just enough to make quitting feel premature. Simone's $36 arrived every Tuesday. Owen cleaned lint traps, mopped, and kept the change machine from rejecting every 5th bill. June paid him on Fridays. Walter used dryer too, and never left without reporting some new draft, squeak, or loose screw. Claire did not come. She called once to ask whether June remembered where Dean had purchased the dining room chandelier. No, June said. You were with him? I was with him for many purchases I did not document. The realtor thinks it dates the room, then replace it. I thought you might know. I don't. Claire waited, perhaps expecting June to offer another task she could complete instead. June said goodbye and returned to folding. The dryer fire began with a smell, not smoke at first, hot rubber, faint enough that June blamed the belt Mateo had replaced. Dryer 4 held a load of restaurant aprons. She opened it, checked the drum, and found the fabric warm but not scorched. Simone looked up from a suit jacket. Something's burning, I checked. Then something is burning where you didn't check. A thin gray ribbon appeared behind dryer 4. June pulled the emergency shutoff. The dryer stopped. The smoke thickened. Outside, she told the 3 customers waiting near the windows. No one argued. Mateo had mounted an extinguisher beside the utility door after the flood. June pulled its pin, aimed behind the dryer, and squeezed. White powder filled the rear corner. A small orange flame disappeared, returned, then vanished beneath another blast. The whole thing lasted less than a minute. Afterward, June stood in the open doorway, coughing, while cold air rushed past her. Simone held June's coat around her shoulders. The customers watched from the sidewalk, one still holding an empty detergent cup. You all right? Simone asked. I ruined the aprons. I asked about you. I'm not on fire. That is a low standard for all right. Mateo arrived 20 minutes later. He pulled dryer 4 away from the wall and found lint packed around a wire whose insulation had cracked with age. The vent had been cleaned. The space behind the electrical housing had not. Could we have seen it? June asked. If we took the machine apart before using it. You took it apart. Not all the way. He said this without defensiveness, which made blame useless. Dryer 4 was finished. The wiring behind both machines had to be replaced before dryer 2 could run again. The smoke had reached the folding shelves and left a greasy film on the clean plastic bags. June closed for a week. This time, no one said the closure was temporary. She put the sign up herself and stood on the sidewalk looking at it until cold stiffened her fingers. 2 wash and fold customers went elsewhere. The restaurant manager took his aprons to the 24-hour laundry and did not return. Simone moved fittings back to her apartment, but left the framed second chances sign on the counter. I don't want to carry it twice, she said. Owen came Tuesday despite the closure. June told him she could not pay him to clean a closed business. Then I brought laundry. He set a bag on the counter, fed quarters into washer 6, and began wiping extinguisher powder from the baseboards while his clothes turned. That is still work, June said. I'm a customer with strange habits. You are not cleaning an entire floor for $6. Fine, I'll do one floor section. He cleaned 3. June added 90 minutes to his timesheet. He crossed out 30. She wrote it back. They settled on 60. The grocery warehouse became the only place that week where June knew exactly what she was doing. A shelf held 36 cans before restocking and 48 after. Nothing needed emotional interpretation. No can of beans had inherited a house and mistaken that for virtue. On Thursday night, Leonard found her sitting on an overturned milk crate near the paper goods aisle. "You need to go home?" he asked. "I need 4 minutes." "You took your break." "I'm purchasing this one with dignity." Leonard checked his watch. "You have 3 minutes and 40 seconds left." She liked him a little more. When June reached Mercer Wash near 11, the front windows were lit. Her first thought was fire. She unlocked the door and found Mateo behind dryer 2, rewiring the connection. Simone was scrubbing soot from the folding shelves. Walter had brought the floor fan back, though there was nothing wet to dry. Owen stood on a ladder painting the smoke-stained wall. June stopped inside the doorway. "Why is he painting?" she asked. Owen looked down. "Hello to you too. You're all supposed to be home." "So are you," Simone said. June set her purse on the counter. "I can't pay for tonight." Mateo tightened a screw. "You're paying me over 3 months. You already worked your estimate. I estimated before the wire tried to kill the dryer." Walter switched off the fan. "I am waiting for my sheets. Your sheets are in your house. Then I'm waiting poorly." June looked at Owen. He climbed down from the ladder. "I'm not signing a timesheet. I don't accept free family labor. This isn't family labor. What is it?" He glanced at the others. "Community service? You haven't been sentenced." Claire might disagree. No one laughed loudly, but the room loosened. Simone handed June a sponge. "You can help, or stand there turning gratitude into a tax problem." June took the sponge. They worked until midnight. Not enough to reopen, but enough that the room smelled more like paint than smoke. Walter left first. Mateo packed his tools. Simone covered her sewing machine with a plastic cloth. Owen carried the ladder to the back. "Claire says the house has an offer," he said quietly. June kept wiping the counter. "Good. She wants you to come look at what's left before they clear it." "I took my things." "She says there are family things." "Her family?" His face tightened. "She doesn't know what to do with the rest." June rinsed the sponge. The water ran gray, then clear. "I'm working," she said. "I can tell her no." "No." June set the sponge upright to dry. "Tell her she can ask me herself." Owen nodded. After everyone left, June turned off the front lights and went upstairs. The flat was cold because she had lowered the heat while working. She sat in Dean's chair without removing her coat. On the table lay Tessa's scale instructions, the grocery schedule, and the ledger open to a page full of losses. June rested her feet on the box that had never been unpacked. For the first time since taking the dollar key, she allowed herself to imagine closing for good. The thought did not feel like defeat. It felt like a door she was permitted to choose not to open. June left the imagined door closed overnight. In the morning, it was still there. She did not rush downstairs to prove anything. She made oatmeal, washed the bowl, and sat at the kitchen table with the ledger, 3 months of utility bills, Simone's rent envelopes, Owen's timesheets, and the grocery schedule. The laundry had not made a profit. It had paid part of its own expenses before the flood, the boiler, and the fire. Wash and fold earned more than the machines, but cost June's shoulders and time. Simone's rent was steady. Owen's labor saved her from hiring someone at a higher rate, though calling that savings did not make the money remain in her account. The grocery job could rebuild some of what the building had taken if June finished the 6 weeks. After that, she would need the laundry to pay its ordinary bills without consuming her. She made a new list. No Sunday opening, 7 wash and fold bags a week, not 12, higher blanket charges, no free refunds because a customer disliked the smell of the detergent they had chosen, 2 dryers repaired before a 3rd washer. A chair behind the counter so she would stop pretending sitting was laziness. At the bottom, she wrote, "Review in 3 months. Closing is allowed." The sentence steadied her more than any promise to continue. Mateo restored dryer 2 by Thursday. Dryer 4 was rolled into the back room, where it joined the broken chairs and one machine Ruth had apparently used as a shelf. June reopened with 2 washers and 1 dryer, which created the sort of arithmetic customers took personally. You have more wet than dry, Inez observed. I know. That's not ideal in laundry. I know. You could sell damp clothes as heavier. I have a scale now. I know exactly how much you're exploiting me. Inez smiled and fed quarters into 6. Simone returned her frame sign to the counter, though June had never seen her remove it. She resumed fittings on Tuesday and Thursday. Walter brought a small wooden chair from his basement for June to use behind the counter. It has arms, he said. I can see, so you can get up. I can get up from armless chairs. I have seen the process. June gave him lentil soup and kept the chair. Customers returned slowly. Dennis did not. Marla did not. The takeout restaurant sent a different manager with 2 bags of aprons and no mention of the fire. 3 new wash and fold customers came through Simone, one of whom argued about the minimum charge until Simone leaned over her sewing machine and said, "You are asking a widow to subsidize your underpants." June told her never to say that again. The customer paid. The laundry was open when Claire called. "Can you come to the house?" she asked. June looked at washer 11. Its timer showed 14 minutes. For what? We accepted the offer. That's good. It's less than we expected. June waited. The inspection found roof work and wiring, Claire continued. And there's moisture in the basement. Houses cost money. We know that now. What do you need me to do? The question came out from habit, but June heard it in time. Claire heard it too. There are things left. Furniture, dishes, papers. I don't know what should be kept. What does Owen want? He says nothing, then puts boxes in his car when I'm not looking. That sounds like Owen. The buyer wants the house cleared by next Friday. And you want me to clear it? No. Claire paused. I want you to come. June watched clean water rise behind the glass. I won't clean, she said. I didn't ask you to. I won't pack. All right, I'm working until 4. I'll be there. Claire did not say thank you. June was almost grateful. The house looked larger without furniture. The front room carried pale rectangles where pictures had hung, and dark grooves in the carpet where the blue chair and sofa had stood. Someone had removed Dean's walker. The little brass bell was gone from the kitchen drawer, though June did not ask where. Boxes filled the dining room. Green stickers marked nearly all of them. The rose dishes sat inside an open carton, each plate separated by newspaper. Claire stood at the sideboard, wearing old jeans and one of Dean's sweatshirts. The sleeves covered half her hands. You kept that, June said. It was in the laundry room. He wore it on cold mornings. I know. June nearly asked how, then remembered Claire had known her father before June did. The chandelier remained. 2 bulbs were dead. What's left? June asked. Claire gestured at the room. This. This is not a category. That's the problem. The estate sale company had taken furniture and household goods it considered sellable. Owen had removed his selections. Claire had packed photographs, jewelry, and documents. What remained was the accumulation that did not know whether it was memory or trash. Chipped bowls, extension cords, Dean's old back brace, Ruth's canning jars, curtain rods, a box of takeout menus, and 7 tablecloths no one remembered purchasing. Claire picked up a wooden rolling pin. Was this my mother's? No. Mine. Claire set it down. Do you want it? No. Then why did you keep it? It rolled dough. That's all. Objects are allowed to have jobs. Claire looked around the room. I don't know what any of this is for now. June moved to the glass cabinet, empty except for dust. Most of it was for living. The sale company said the rose dishes aren't worth much. Ruth bought them 1 piece at a time from the grocery store. You said she gave them to you. She did. Claire touched the edge of a plate. Take them. No, you fought me for them. I told you the truth about them. That isn't the same. What am I supposed to do with service for 12? Keep one place setting, sell the rest, give them away, eat sandwiches from them. Claire looked irritated. You always have an answer. No. I have practice. They worked without calling it work. June did not pack. She sat in the dining room and told Claire what she recognized. The chipped blue mixing bowl had belonged to Claire's mother, who used it for whipped cream at Christmas. Dean's old camera no longer worked. Ruth's green vase leaked around the base. The brass candlesticks had come from a yard sale and carried no family meaning at all. Claire held each object as if waiting for it to declare its rank. Choose 3, June said. 3? 3 things you would notice were missing from a room. That's impossible. It gets easier when you stop asking what they're worth. Claire walked through the house. She returned with the blue mixing bowl, Dean's black pen with the gold clip, and a pair of pruning shears with worn wooden handles. The shears were Mom's, she said. She used them on the dogwood. I remember, you weren't here then, Dean told me. Claire placed the three objects together on the sideboard. The bowl had a crack down one side. The pen was nearly out of ink. The shears needed oil. They look like junk, Claire said. Then you chose well. Claire laughed once, unwillingly. It was the first sound June had heard from her that did not require defense. They carried nothing. The sun lowered through the uncovered windows, showing dust in the air. I thought the house would feel different when it was ours, Claire said. How? Like we got something back. June remained seated. After Mom left, Dad kept the house, Claire continued. Then you moved in. You changed the curtains. You put your dishes in the kitchen. Every time we visited, you knew where everything was. I lived here. I know that now. You knew it then. I didn't understand what it meant. Claire sat across from her. Dean's sweatshirt hung loosely around her shoulders. I thought you got all those years with him, she said. I thought that was your share. June looked at the grooves in the carpet where Dean's chair had been. The last year, he woke me 6 or 7 times a night. Sometimes he needed the bathroom. Sometimes he thought he heard someone in the hallway. Once he rang the bell for 20 minutes because I had fallen asleep in the shower. Claire's face tightened. He could be sweet, June said. He could be frightened. He could hum old songs while I cut his hair. He could also punish me for being the only person there. Those years were not a prize. I didn't know. You didn't ask. No. The answer contained no excuse. Claire looked toward the kitchen. The realtor wants the rooms arranged for the final walkthrough. Just enough furniture that it doesn't look abandoned. There is no furniture. She said we could rent some. I thought maybe you could tell me where things should go. Under the table? Claire almost smiled, then did not. You made this place feel like a home, she said. I maintained it. That too. It was work, Claire. I know. No. You know now because no one is doing it. Claire flinched. June stood. Her knees complained after the long sit. I'm not arranging the rooms. I know. I'm not coming back tomorrow. All right. I will give you the name of the woman who cleaned after Dean's hospital bed was removed. She charges fairly. Claire nodded. At the front door, she held out the envelope containing the house key June had returned once already. You should keep one, she said. Why? You lived here longer than any of us. The buyer probably won't appreciate that. I meant until closing. June looked at the key. For weeks, Claire had treated access to the house as something June was borrowing. Now the gesture felt like an apology Claire had not learned to form. June closed Claire's fingers around it. You keep it, she said. Lock the door when you're done. Outside, the dogwood branches were bare. The pruning cuts June had made the previous spring showed pale against the bark. She had spent an afternoon shaping that tree while Dean criticized from the porch, then brought her lemonade after she ignored him. June drove back to Mercer Wash before closing. Owen had mopped. Simone was fitting a gray suit behind the screen. Walter slept in the chair by the window, with his naval history book open on his chest. Washer 6 turned with Inez's uniforms inside it. No one asked whether the house had felt like home. June went behind the counter and sat in the wooden chair Walter had brought. She opened the ledger to the list she had made that morning. Review in 3 months. Closing is allowed. Beneath it, she added one more line. Staying is allowed too. 3 months arrived before the third washer did. June reviewed the page on a rainy morning, while 6 wash and fold bags waited behind her. The business had paid its utilities for 2 months and most of Owen's wages. Simone's rent covered the insurance. Machine income rose when the weather was bad and fell whenever the sun persuaded people they could dry sheets outdoors. The grocery warehouse contract ended on a Friday night. Leonard shook June's hand, told her she counted accurately, but walked too slowly, and offered to call if they needed temporary help again. Please don't, she said. You did good work. I did slow work. Still good. June drove home with her final paycheck in her purse and slept until 9 the next morning, missing the laundry's opening for the first time. Owen had unlocked the door with the key she had given him for Tuesdays. He had started washer 6 for Inez, opened Simone's counter, and written, June is late. Please act normal on a piece of cardboard. You should have called me, June said when she came downstairs. I did. My phone was in the kitchen. I know. I could hear it from down here. You don't open Saturdays. I do now. No, you do Tuesdays. He looked around the room. It appears to be Saturday. June removed the cardboard sign. I'm docking you for insubordination. You'd have to pay me first. She did pay him, including the extra hour. The laundry did not become profitable in the way people used the word when they wanted a story to move faster. It stopped losing quite so much. Then, with new prices and fewer closures, it began keeping a little. Mateo found a refurbished washer from a restaurant linen service that had replaced its equipment. It was not cheap. June waited another month, checked the ledger twice, and paid half when it arrived. The other half went on to the 3-month schedule Mateo had offered. Third washer, he said, after connecting it. Does it have a personality? No. Good, it may develop one. The new machine was white while the others were faded almond. Simone said the difference made the old ones look dirty. Inez said everything looked dirty besides something new. Walter suggested painting the old machines. Mateo threatened to ban all 3 from touching his equipment. In early spring, June hired Owen for a second morning each week. He learned to clean the coin mechanisms, replace simple belts, and identify noises worth calling Mateo about. He remained late often enough that June made him write the extra time down. You watch those sheets like Dean watched his pills, Owen said once. Your father never watched his pills. I watched his pills. Owen leaned against washer 11. Right. June expected him to change the subject. Instead, he stayed there. I keep remembering things wrong, he said. Not false, just easier. Everyone does. Do you? All the time. What do you remember easier? June folded the corners of a fitted sheet into each other. That he needed me. Owen waited. It was easier than remembering the times he used that need as a weapon. I'm sorry, you've said that. I know. This one was better. Owen nodded and returned to the coin tray. Claire stayed away through the spring. The house closed in April. Owen told June the final amount was less than either he or Claire had expected, after roof repairs, electrical work, and the moisture treatment in the basement. He did not complain, though he mentioned that Claire had calculated the original asking price into her future several months too early. Houses cost money, June said. She said you said that. It remained true. What did you spend your share on? Storage. June looked at him. I had 17 boxes, 23 originally. I lost 6 to growth. He had moved into a larger apartment with a small room he called an office. June suspected it contained the boxes, unopened, but he no longer stored them in her building. Claire came to Mercer Wash 2 weeks after the closing. She carried a cardboard carton marked green and stood near the entrance as though uncertain whether customers were allowed to enter without laundry. June was sorting dark uniforms. Do you need a machine? No. Alterations? Claire glanced at Simone, who was pinning the sleeve of a wool coat. No. Then you can sit. But Walter believes the chair near the window is his. Walter raised one hand from behind his book. I don't believe it. I occupy it. Claire placed the box on the counter. Inside were 4 place settings of Ruth's rose dishes, wrapped in newspaper. I kept one, she said. Owen kept one. I thought you might want some. June lifted a teacup. One pink rose had faded nearly white from years in the dishwasher. What happened to the others? A estate sale company took them. They said they weren't worth anything. They put them in a mixed lot. June set the cup down. I should have given them to you before, Claire said. You should have believed me when I said they were given to me. I do now. That isn't the same thing. No. Claire looked tired. Not funeral tired or moving tired. The deeper kind that came when anger had finished a job and left no instructions. I don't have space for them, June said. You have a kitchen. I have plain dishes. These were yours. They were mine in that house. Claire touched one folded edge of newspaper. What should I do with them? June thought of Ruth buying 1 piece a week with grocery stamps, then insisting the pattern was finer than anything sold in a department store. She thought of Thanksgiving gravy dried around the rim, Claire leaving early, Owen asleep in his shoes, Dean complaining that 12 plates required 12 plates worth of washing. Use them, June said. Invite 3 people and let 1 cup chip. Claire almost smiled. She closed the carton. I wasn't trying to punish you, she said. June kept sorting uniforms. That doesn't mean I wasn't punished. I know. You know now. Yes. The answer had become familiar, but it had stopped sounding empty. Claire carried the box back to her car. In summer, the front door stopped swelling. Customers came in complaining of heat, though the dryers had always made the laundry hot. June installed a second-hand window air conditioner in the flat and refused to turn it on before noon. Tessa visited in July, switched it on at 10, and paid the increase in the electric bill by slipping cash into the fish shower curtains package, which June had inexplicably kept beneath the sink. June mailed the cash back inside a birthday card. Tessa returned it at their next Sunday call through a digital transfer June did not know how to reject. Their calls stretched past half an hour. Sometimes they discussed Dean. More often, Tessa talked about work, a neighbor who practiced trumpet badly, or the basil plant she kept nearly killing. June talked about the laundry without reporting income, and about customers without identifying them by stains. On the anniversary of Dean's death, June did not open. She expected grief to arrive in the blue armchair, but it found her in the grocery store near the vanilla yogurt. She stood in front of the refrigerated case with one hand on the cart, and remembered stirring every cup because Dean insisted the fruit settled unevenly. A store employee asked whether she needed help. "No," June said. "I'm deciding." She bought one yogurt, took it home, and ate it without stirring. Tessa came that evening. They ordered Chinese food because Dean had once used it in place of apologies. June told her this, and Tessa laughed so suddenly that soda came through her nose. "I'm sorry," Tessa said, reaching for a napkin. "No, you're not. No, that was excellent." They ate from cartons at the kitchen table. Tessa did not ask June whether she missed him. June did not ask herself until after her daughter had gone to sleep on the air mattress. The answer was yes. It was also no. Both remained true through the night. By autumn, Mercer Wash had 4 working washers and 2 dryers. June opened 4 days again, adding Sunday mornings, but closing at noon. She accepted 9 folding bags a week and no more. Simone raised her own rates and paid $40 weekly without negotiation. Owen's Tuesday hours remained paid. Walter still found drafts. The flat acquired ordinary clutter, mail on the counter, soup containers without matching lids, Tessa's spare sweater over the back of a chair. The dead plant's coffee can, scrubbed clean, now held wooden spoons. Dean's photograph stayed upright on the dresser. His slipper remained beside it. June wore her wedding ring when she wanted to, and left it in the dish beside the sink when she did not. Claire called in early November. "What are you doing for Thanksgiving?" she asked. June balanced the phone between shoulder and ear while weighing a bag of sheets. "Having dinner. I meant where?" "Upstairs." There was a pause. "At the laundry? The flat has a kitchen." "I know." June wrote 24 pounds on the order slip. "Who's coming?" Claire asked. "Tessa, Inez, Simone, Walter, Mateo, if he stops pretending he has other invitations." "Owen?" I asked him. Another pause. Claire's voice became careful. "I haven't made plans." June set down the pen. Claire had a condominium across town, with a dining table that seated 4. Owen's apartment could fit guests if the 17 boxes agreed to leave. For 32 years, Thanksgiving had belonged to the house whether the people inside it liked one another or not. "You can come," June said. "Are you sure?" "No." "That's not funny. It wasn't meant to be." Claire inhaled. "What do I bring?" "Food." "What kind?" "Something you know how to make." "I can buy something." "Then buy something you know how to buy." June. "No one comes empty-handed. No one waits for me to serve. Everyone helps clean. If you want a holiday where the work is invisible, have it somewhere else." Claire was quiet long enough for June to hear washer 6 begin its spin cycle. "I can make potatoes," she said. "Can you? I made them after Dad's funeral. The caterer made them. I reheated them." "That is not the same skill. I'll practice." June wrote potatoes beside Claire's name on the list taped to the refrigerator. Tessa objected during their Sunday call. "You invited Claire?" she asked. "That has historically been enough for you to abandon your own needs. She is bringing potatoes, an inspiring transformation. I gave conditions. And if she ignores them, she leaves with her potatoes." Tessa was silent, then said, "I'll believe that when I see it. You don't have to defend me. I know. You sound disappointed." "I'm adjusting." Thanksgiving morning began with washer 11 refusing to accept quarters. June had planned to close, but Inez appeared at 7 with uniforms, and the argument that illness did not observe federal holidays. Mateo arrived carrying a pecan pie and fixed the coin mechanism while wearing a clean shirt. He clearly regretted exposing to grease. Simone brought folding chairs. Walter carried 2 bottles of wine and complained about the stairs. Owen arrived with ice before anyone asked and looked offended when June praised him. At 3, the yellow room held a borrowed table, extended by one of the old folding surfaces from downstairs. None of the chairs matched. The blue armchair remained near the window for Walter, though he insisted he did not need it. Tessa stood beside June at the stove, tasting gravy. "It needs salt," she said. "It has salt. It needs confidence. That is not an ingredient." A knock sounded below. June wiped her hands and went downstairs. Claire stood outside holding a covered dish with both hands. Behind her, on the passenger seat of her car, sat the green carton of rose-patterned dishes. "I made the potatoes twice," she said when June opened the door. "Which version is that? The one I'm willing to let people eat?" June looked toward the car. Claire followed her gaze. "I thought we could use them. You brought dishes for 12, 4-place settings. I bought 8 plain white ones." For the first time, Claire had added to something instead of deciding who had the right to take it. June unlocked the door fully. "Come upstairs," she said. "The gravy lacks confidence." Claire carried the potatoes upstairs, while June and Owen brought in the dishes. The rose pattern looked smaller in the yellow kitchen than it had behind the glass doors at the house. 4 people received Ruth's plates. The others received Claire's plain white ones. No one asked why. Simone set one more place at the borrowed table. "Who gets flowers?" She held up the single rose-patterned saucer. "Walter," Inez said. "He appreciates old things." Walter removed his coat. "You are 59, and appreciating you more every minute." Matteo appeared from the kitchen with a smear of grease across one cuff. June pointed at it. "You wore a clean shirt. Washer 11 made a choice. Go wash your hands." "I'm 34. You can be 34 in the bathroom." He went. Claire stood near the table holding the serving dish as if waiting to be assigned a position. Tessa watched her from the stove, gravy spoon in hand. "Put them there," June said. Claire placed the potatoes beside Simone's green beans. "Do they look all right?" "They look like potatoes. I use cream, then they look expensive." Owen tried one before they sat down. Claire slapped his hand. "Those are for dinner. It's Thanksgiving. Everything is for dinner. They're good," he added after swallowing. Claire looked relieved despite herself. The first several minutes were too polite. Dishes traveled around the table with unnecessary explanations. Walter said the turkey was moist. Simone complimented the yellow walls, though she had done so months earlier. Owen poured wine for people who had not asked for it. June sat at the end nearest the kitchen. In the old house, she had eaten Thanksgiving dinner in motion. She carved, served, refilled, reheated, and noticed every empty glass before its owner did. Dean had praised the meal while asking why the gravy was cooler than the potatoes. When June began to stand for more rolls, Tessa put a hand on her arm. "They know where the kitchen is. It's 6 feet away. Then they can find it." Matteo got the rolls. Inez carried the extra gravy. Claire returned from the kitchen with butter nobody had requested and sat down again. The meal became less careful. Simone described a man who had asked her to enlarge a pair of trousers without adding fabric. Walter argued that all modern washing machines use too much water, until Matteo informed him he was wrong in 3 separate ways. Owen admitted that 17 of his 23 boxes remained unopened. "What was in the 6? June asked. "Things I needed. You had forgotten them for 3 years. I needed the experience of finding them." Tessa looked at June. "Is he always like this?" "He becomes more himself near food." Claire laughed. The sound stopped her before it stopped anyone else. She looked down at her rose-patterned plate, almost embarrassed to have enjoyed something. After a moment, she said, "Dad would have hated these walls." The table went quiet. June could feel Tessa prepare herself beside her. "Yes," June said. Claire traced one faded rose with her finger. "He said yellow made a room look cheap. He said yellow made people look sick," Owen corrected. "He said both," June said. "Your father could maintain several complaints at once." Owen smiled. Claire did too. Tessa set down her fork. "He told Mom not to buy yellow towels." Claire glanced at her. "He told my mother that too." For the first time, they looked at each other not as opposing witnesses, but as 2 women holding separate pieces of the same difficult man. "He was wrong," Claire said. Tessa looked around the room. "About the walls?" "About a lot." The admission did not ask June to forgive anything. It sat on the table among the dishes and was allowed to be enough for the moment. Owen raised his glass. To Dad? Tessa's mouth tightened. June looked at Dean's children, her daughter, and the people who had come through the laundry door carrying uniforms, tools, sheets, sewing machines, soup expectations, and inconvenient truth. To people who show up, she said. Glasses lifted. Walter raised water. Mateo raised gravy before realizing he had picked up the wrong thing. They drank. The potatoes were good. Claire had used too much salt, but no one mentioned it until she did. I made the first batch without any, she said. The second one may be entirely salt. You average correctly, Mateo told her. After dinner, June stacked 2 plates before Simone took them from her. Sit. I live here. Yes. Practice. Inez carried food downstairs to store in the laundry refrigerator. Walter wrapped the pecan pie, claiming responsibility for protecting it from Owen. Mateo checked washer 11 final time and declared the coin problem corrected. Claire filled the sink with hot water. You don't have to do those, June said. I know. Owen picked up a dish towel. That's the family motto now. Claire handed him a wet plate. Try not to drop Ruth. They washed and dried together, arguing about which cabinet held the serving bowls. Claire guessed wrong twice. June did not correct her until she asked. Tessa came to sit beside June in the blue armchair's shadow. The borrowed table had left little room, so their knees nearly touched. You let her wash dishes, Tessa said. I'm becoming reckless. How does it feel? Like she uses too much soap. Tessa smiled, then watched Claire pass Owen another plate. Did it feel like family? She asked. June considered the question. Laughter came from the kitchen, followed by a sharp sound as Owen dropped a spoon. It felt like dinner, June said. That may be more honest. Tessa rested her head briefly against June's shoulder. It was the kind of gesture she had stopped making long before either of them could remember why. Across the room, Claire turned and saw them. Something crossed her face, grief or envy or recognition. She looked away, finished rinsing the bowl, and placed it in Owen's hands. The others left in stages. Walter took the pie, despite being challenged. Inez took 2 portions for her next shifts. Simone folded the borrowed chairs and carried them downstairs. Mateo left the last among the non-family, after making June promise not to open washer 11 herself if it jammed again. Owen put on his jacket. I'll come Tuesday. You're scheduled, I know. That means I expect you. I'm adjusting to employment. He kissed June's cheek, hugged Tessa, and waited near the stairs for Claire. Claire stayed beside the table. I should have spoken up, she said. June knew what she meant. Tessa did too. Yes, June said. I keep trying to find a better explanation for why I didn't. Have you? No, that's probably useful. Claire looked toward Dean's photograph on the bedroom dresser. From where she stood, she could see his face and the worn brown slipper beside it. I thought you were trying to replace us, she said. Then I acted as if you could be replaced. June folded one of the cloth napkins. You can't fix it by understanding the sentence. I know. You can't fix it with dishes. Claire nodded. I know that too. June placed the folded napkin on the table. You can keep showing up. Do I call first? Yes. Claire smiled faintly. All right. She left with Owen, carrying the empty potato dish. The rose plates remained in June's sink, clean and drying among the plain white ones. Tessa stayed overnight on the air mattress. Long after the flat went quiet, June heard her moving in the kitchen. She found her daughter wrapping leftovers. I couldn't sleep, Tessa said. The radiators knock. I like the radiators. No one likes those radiators. Tessa closed the container. You're really staying? June leaned against the counter. For now. You wrote something like that in the ledger, didn't you? How do you know about my ledger? You leave it open. It's private. It has a column called Fear. That is accounting. Tessa set the container in the refrigerator. I'm glad, she said. That I'm staying? That you know leaving is allowed. June looked at the yellow light over the sink. So am I. The months after Thanksgiving did not become easy enough to summarize with a number. Washer 11 continued to misbehave. Dryer 2 required a new thermostat. Simone's iron tripped the breaker once after Mateo had installed the separate outlet, and the problem turned out to be Simone's extension cord. She blamed the cord personally and cut it into pieces. Walter developed a pain in his shoulder that made carrying laundry difficult. June added pickup service for him, and 2 other customers on Wednesday mornings, charging enough that he complained every time and paid every time. Claire began coming on Thursdays. At first, she brought no laundry. She drank coffee at Simone's counter and asked June questions whose answers she did not need. Eventually, she brought sheets and used washer 6. She paid in quarters, folded her own things, and once stayed to help Simone move a rack without turning the effort into proof of goodness. She and June still argued. Claire believed the front window needed curtains. June believed a laundry window existed so people could see whether machines were available. Neither persuaded the other. The disagreement pleased June more than peace would have. Owen kept his Tuesday and Saturday hours. After a year, June raised his pay by $2. He asked for $3. They settled at $2.50 and lunch. Tessa came every other month and called each Sunday. June visited Pittsburgh once, slept in the spare room, and moved the treadmill herself, rather than asking where she was supposed to fit. She stayed 4 nights, then came home because she wanted to, not because anyone needed pills. Mercer Wash gained machines slowly. Matteo rebuilt one dryer from parts that had outlived 3 separate laundries. June bought a used washer only after the emergency fund recovered. A 4th dryer arrived with a dent in its side and an honest motor. By the 2nd anniversary of Dean's death, 8 machines worked. The laundry was not full every hour. It did not make June wealthy. The roof still worried her during heavy rain, and every utility bill remained an event. But the business paid its ordinary expenses, paid Owen, paid Matteo according to schedule, and left enough to rebuild a small emergency fund. The flat looked lived in. The yellow walls had scuff marks. The kitchen table held mail, a bowl of clementines, and a list of people who owed hangers. The blue armchair had been reupholstered because one spring had finally pushed through the seat cushion. June chose yellow fabric. Tessa called it aggressive. Claire called it loud. June considered both compliments. The anniversary fell on a Thursday. June opened at 7 and closed at 4. Inez washed uniforms in 6. Simone worked at the counter. Walter occupied his chair. Claire came with sheets. Owen cleaned the vents. Matteo stopped in without being called and pretended he had been nearby. No one treated June delicately. After closing, she counted the cash and entered the day's numbers in the ledger. The first pages had softened from handling. Near the back, between an old receipt and the list of repairs, lay the dollar Claire had taped to the laundry key. The tape still clung to one edge. June carried it upstairs. On the kitchen table waited a small black frame she had bought that morning. It cost $9, which offended her because it was mostly glass. She unfolded the bill, pressed it flat beneath a stack of plates, and fitted it into the frame. She did not add Dean's name. She did not write the date or explain the joke. The dollar did not need a caption. June hung it beside the upstairs door, low enough to see when she turned the lock. Downstairs, the machines had stopped. Pipes settled inside the walls. The takeout restaurant's exhaust fan rattled beneath the kitchen window, and a bus sighed at the curb. June switched off the stairwell light, climbed past the framed dollar, and closed the door. The yellow room held its heat.